Welcome to Cello. At readcello.com, you create personalized novels based on your input. You can also find a library of ebooks and audiobooks just like this one. This free audiobook of The Shifting Sands is brought to you by readcello.com. Enjoy the book. The Shifting Sands has been written and narrated by the amazing team at readcello.com. Dedication. This book is dedicated to the community seeker. The community seeker reads to connect. They love stories that spark conversations, fuel discussions, and create shared experiences with others. For them, books are more than just entertainment. They're a way to bond, to exchange ideas, and to be part of something bigger. Whether it's through book clubs, online fandoms, buddy reads, or social media discussions, they thrive on engaging with others about what they read. They aren't just looking for a good story. They're looking for a reading experience that brings people together. The Shifting Sands. Chapter 1, The Awakening Journey. Les stood in her brightly lit workshop, surrounded by the comforting scents of herbs and warm, polished wood. The walls were adorned with various charms, each one telling a story of its own. Her hands moved gracefully, manipulating grains of sand, molding them into intricate shapes that danced beneath her fingertips. State after state, she felt the sand come alive, her focus sharpened by the rhythm of her craft. She hummed a soft tune, lost in the joy of creation, in the world outside fading into the background. Today, she prepared for the market, where her work would be judged and appreciated, a chance to share her talent with her community. Just as she finished a delicate protective charm, a gust of wind swept through the workshop, stirring the grains of sand on her table and causing her to momentarily lose her concentration. Frowning, Liz shook her head, dismissing the disturbance. It was just a breeze. Yet, something about the air felt different, charged with an energy that sent shivers down her spine. Determined to brush off any concerns, she returned to her task, pushing aside the feeling that something significant was about to unfold. Liz continued to work, the rhythmic sound of sand sifting through her fingers soothing in the otherwise quiet workshop. Suddenly, the door swung open with a creak, and in burst Cale, a whirlwind of energy and excitement. His eyes sparkled with enthusiasm, and his messy hair was frizzled from the wind outside. "Liz, you won't believe the things I saw today," he exclaimed, virtually bouncing with excitement. He rushed closer, nearly knocking over a jar of herbs in his eagerness. "Just outside the village, I found this ancient ruin. There are carvings and everything. Come with me. You have to see this." Lise couldn't help but smile at his enthusiasm, feeling a spark of intrigue ignite within her. "But Cale, I have my charms to finish for the market," she replied, trying to pull her focus back to the task at hand. Cale waved her off dismissively, grinning wider. "Those can wait. We can't miss this chance for adventure. What if it's related to the legends?" He leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "What if it's something incredible?" Liz felt a tug of curiosity battle against her sense of duty, her heart racing at the thought of uncovering something hidden beneath the sands. "All right, let me finish this one charm, and then I'll meet you." She finally relented, feeling the pull of both her work and her friend's adventurous spirit. Just as they began to talk about plans for the adventure, a dusty traveler entered the workshop, his face etched with weariness and urgency. He hesitated briefly at the threshold, catching his breath, before speaking up with a furrowed brow. "Lise, Cale, you shouldn't be wandering too far beyond the village," he cautioned, his voice grave. "There's word of a sandstorm brewing, and it doesn't just bring winds, it uncovers old secrets." Cale raised an eyebrow, intrigued, but the traveler continued, his tone growing more serious. "Several have vanished in storms like this. Beware of what the sands may awaken." Lise felt a chill run down her spine, the earlier excitement of adventure dimmed by the traveler's words. Turning to Cale, she saw the growing shadows of doubt mirrored in his expression, each of them weighing the potential risks against their desire for exploration. "But it's only a legend," Cale insisted, not ready to let go of his adventurous spirit. Lisa's heart raced as she absorbed the traveler's warning. She opened her mouth to argue, but found herself hesitating, the pull of caution tugging at her instincts. "Maybe we should focus on preparing for this storm instead," she suggested, uncertain but feeling the burden of responsibility swell within her. The traveler nodded, sensing her concern, Trust your instincts, young sandweaver, he advised, a knowing look in his eye. As the traveler left, Cale grinned, trying to shake off the tension. Don't let him scare you. We'll just make sure to prepare for whatever comes our way, he said, but Lys could see the flicker of doubt in his eyes. Determined to be proactive, Lys tidied her workshop, quickly securing her tools and materials before the impending storm could wreak havoc. The wind began to howl outside, rattling the windows and sending loose items skittering across her workbench. Lys glanced out the window, the sky darkening with swirling clouds, an ominous sign that only fueled her growing unease. With each gust, she felt a deepening connection to the sands, as if the very earth whispered secrets she had yet to understand. Just a bit more, she murmured, focusing on the task at hand, pushing thoughts of danger aside as her fingers deftly arranged her belongings. But even as she worked, an unsettling feeling tugged at her, a sense that something crucial was about to change. Cale, noticing her distraction, leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "You're really worried, aren't you?" he asked, his voice softer now, aware of the storm brewing not just outside but within her. "Not worried, just cautious," she replied, pausing in her movements, the reality of their situation setting in more firmly. Cale stepped closer, reading the tension in her posture. "Hey, we'll be fine. It's just a storm," he reassured her, trying to retain the lightheartedness that usually marked their conversations. Lys forced a smile, but the weight of her responsibility settled heavily upon her. "Let's just make sure we're ready for whatever might come our way," she finally said, her mind racing with both preparation and the thrill of the unknown ahead. With a sense of urgency swelling inside her, Lys decided to create one last charm before sealing her workshop and joining Cale on their adventure. Her hands moved swiftly, unearthing the materials she needed from her workspace, pouring her focus into crafting something that would be both protective and empowering. The familiar texture of the sand felt reassuring beneath her fingertips. It was as if each grain held a piece of her determination. What if this makes a difference, she wondered aloud, her heart racing with anticipation as she shaped the charm, pouring intention into each twist and turn. As she wove the final elements together, the charm began to shimmer with energy, vibrant and full of potential, capturing the essence of her hopes for their journey. The storm outside intensified, but her resolve solidified. She would not let fear dictate her actions. Satisfied with her creation, she placed the charm near the entrance of her workshop, a talisman to protect her path and those she cared about. "All right, let's see where this takes us," she whispered to the charm, a mix of excitement and trepidation coursing through her as she prepared to step out into the unknown. With charm in hand and determination in her heart, Lys stepped out of her workshop into the whirlwind of the approaching storm. The wind whipped through the streets, sending dust and sand swirling around her, but she felt a surge of courage pushing her forward. Glancing back at her home, she took a deep breath, anchoring herself in the familiar sight before turning to Cale, who was waiting nearby with an eager expression. "Ready for the adventure of a lifetime?" he asked, his excitement infectious despite the heavy clouds looming overhead. She nodded, the thrill of embarking on this journey mingling with the anxiety of what lay ahead. Together, they set off toward the outskirts of the village, the storm brewing behind them like a shadow, yet hope glimmered as bright as the charm she left behind. Step by step, Lys felt the weight of her purpose grow, intertwining with the winds of change, knowing that this adventure would be more than just an exploration. It was the beginning of something profound. Chapter 2, The Path of Unity. Lys and Cale ventured further into the forest, the excitement of exploration mingling with the uncertainty of what lay ahead. The trees loomed taller than she had imagined, their trunks thick and textured, creating a tapestry of shadows that danced across the forest floor. Every crunch of leaves beneath their feet echoed in the stillness, amplifying the sense of adventure and trepidation that pulsed between them. Lys glanced at Cale, noticing the glimmer of enthusiasm in his eyes, and felt her own pulse quicken with the thrill of discovery. "Can you feel it?" he asked, a grin breaking across his face. "This place is alive with stories waiting to be uncovered." As they walked deeper, she couldn't help but sense the forest watching them, the rustling leaves almost whispering secrets that were just out of reach. A tingle of curiosity spurred her on, reminding her why she had stepped out of her comfort zone. This quest was about more than adventure. It was about uncovering truths that connected her to the very heart of the land. As they continued their journey, the forest began to change around them. The air grew thicker, filled with the scent of damp earth and blooming wildflowers. Liz paused to collect her thoughts, taking a moment to observe her surroundings, recognizing the beauty and potential danger in the vibrant landscape. "Let's stick to the path here. No need to wander off into the unknown just yet," she advised, glancing at Cale to gauge his reaction. He nodded, understanding the importance of caution, but bubbling with curiosity about what lay just beyond the established trail. "Look at these plants," he exclaimed, bending down to examine a cluster of colorful flowers. "They're amazing. Do you think any of them could be useful?" Lise moved closer, intrigued but cautious, noting their unfamiliar shapes and vibrant colors, recalling lessons about the local flora from Mira. "Maybe," she replied, scanning the area for any potential hazards, her instincts sharp as she navigated the blend of excitement and caution. As they examined the plants, Cale's excitement was palpable. Liz studied him closely, recognizing the spark of curiosity that drove his adventurous spirit. Just then, a rustling noise from the nearby bushes drew their attention, causing both of them to stiffen. Liz's heart raced. Her instincts kicked in as she scanned the thicket for movement, recalling the traveler's warning about dangers lurking in the forest. "Cale, stay close," she whispered, anxiety creeping into her voice as she instinctively stepped in front of him. The rustling intensified and a slender figure emerged from the underbrush, a forest dweller, with an expression caught somewhere between curiosity and caution. "Who goes there?" the stranger called out, their voice steady but wary, holding a simple wooden spear ready at their side. Lise raised her hands in a gesture of peace, her heart pounding as she realized that how they responded would define their path in this unfamiliar territory. Lise took a cautious step forward, her voice calm as she addressed the forest dweller. "We mean no harm. We're travelers seeking knowledge about the forest and its resources," she explained, her hands still raised to show she was not a threat. The dweller's gaze flickered between Les and Cale, assessing their intentions, the tension evident in their posture. "I've seen your kind before, those who wander without understanding the ways of this land," they replied, skepticism lacing their tone. Liz felt the weight of their scrutiny, but also recognized an opportunity to forge a connection. "We want to learn and respect the forest. Can you help us?" she asked earnestly, hoping to convey their genuine intention. The dweller lowered their spear slightly, but remained guarded, reflecting the cautious nature of the forest's inhabitants. The forest dweller paused, their expression shifting as they assessed Liz's sincerity. After a long moment of silence, they finally lowered the spear, though caution still lingered in their stance. "Knowledge doesn't come easily. The forest requires respect and understanding," the dweller replied, their voice still firm but less defensive. Liz nodded eagerly, encouraged by this small shift. "We're here to learn and to ensure our actions benefit the forest, not harm it," she reiterated, feeling a bond form in that moment. "Very well. Follow me, but be watchful. Many dangers lurk in the trees," the dweller said, turning to lead them deeper into the woods, demonstrating a tentative willingness to share their world. As they walked, Lise felt a spark of hope that they could bridge the gap between their people and the forest dwellers, eager to prove their intentions. As they moved deeper into the forest, the trees grew denser, and the air became heavy with the scent of damp earth and wildflowers. Lise followed closely behind the forest dweller, absorbing every detail of her surroundings, eager to learn more about the flora and fauna that thrived in this enclave. The dweller pointed out various plants, explaining their uses and significance, weaving stories of the forest's history into their descriptions. "Each tree has its purpose, just as each person does," they said, their tone reminiscent but with an underlying authority. Lise nodded, impressed by the depth of knowledge passed down through generations, and felt a growing respect for the wisdom of the forest's guardians. "Can you teach us how to communicate with the land?" "I want to understand how to protect it," Lise asked, her enthusiasm palpable, reflecting her commitment to bridging the divide. The dweller gave her a scrutinizing glance, weighing the sincerity in her eyes before responding. It takes time and respect. Are you prepared to learn? Chapter 3. The Boundaries of Trust. Days passed as Lys immersed herself in learning from the forest dweller, gaining insights about the land and its resources. Each lesson felt profound as they explored the forest together, understanding its nuances and magic. Lys learned about the delicate balance of nature, how every creature and plant played a role in maintaining harmony within the ecosystem. She practiced weaving sand into protective charms, using ingredients they uncovered in the wild, and pouring her focus into each creation while listening to the dweller's stories. The wisdom shared went deeper than technical skills. It taught her the importance of patience and respect for the world around her. With every passing day, she felt more connected to the forest, her resolve stronger as she forged her path in this unfamiliar setting. One morning, Lys awoke to the sound of rain tapping on the forest leaves, a gentle reminder of the land's ever-changing moods. She quickly emerged from her makeshift shelter, eager to assess how the storm had transformed the environment and what resources might be available. As the rain softened to a drizzle, she ventured into the woods, her senses heightened, noting how the wet earth revealed the vibrant colors of the plants and flowers. While exploring, she spotted rare mushrooms nestled among the roots of an ancient tree, their luminescent caps glistening in the dim light. Excitedly, she recalled the dweller's lessons about the medicinal properties of local flora, eager to collect what she could for future charms. With care, she gathered the mushrooms, feeling a sense of purpose fill her as she connected to the land's abundance, knowing that every discovery would enrich her knowledge and help her protect her people. As Lys continued her exploration, she spotted a cluster of unusual plants that caught her attention, tall and striking, with leaves shimmering oddly in the muted light. Curiosity piqued. She approached carefully, recalling the dweller's warnings about plants that can be both beneficial and poisonous. Just then, the forest dweller appeared beside her, watching her intently. "Those can be tricky, beautiful but dangerous if used incorrectly," they cautioned, their tones serious as they assessed her interest. Lys stepped back, considering the dweller's words, feeling a mix of excitement and caution wash over her. "Can you teach me how to differentiate?" she asked earnestly, eager to expand her understanding of the forest's secrets and its many layers. The dweller nodded slowly, sensing her genuine longing to learn, and began to explain the signs to look for, revealing the intricate connection between nature and knowledge. The dweller knelt beside the plants, pointing out the subtle differences in color and texture that indicated their safety or danger. Lys leaned in closely, her heart racing with both curiosity and apprehension as she listened intently to each explanation. "This one here has a smooth edge, safe to touch. The darker leaves," the dweller gestured toward a set of glossy blades, "are deceptively enticing but can cause harm." Lys mentally noted every detail, determined to memorize the distinctions, realizing that this knowledge was vital for her journey. "Understanding these signs can mean the difference between life and death in the forest," the dweller added, their voice steady but layered with an unspoken weight. As she absorbed this information, Lys felt a mix of pride and humility, knowing she had much to learn, a crucial step toward mastering her environment. With the dweller's guidance, Lys felt more confident as she identified various plants, their meanings unfolding like pages in a book. As they moved through the grove, Lys discovered not only the practical elements of the forest, but also the stories intertwined with each plant. The dweller shared anecdotes about the history of the woods, the battles fought and the wisdom gained, breathing life into the knowledge they explored. "Every tree and herb tells a story," they said, their voice resonating with pride for the knowledge passed down through generations. Lys listened intently, feeling a profound respect for the land grow within her, intertwining their destinies as protectors of the forest. She realized that her journey was not just about gaining skills, but also about understanding the delicate balance of life around her, deepening her connection to her purpose. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the atmosphere shifted. The trees grew tighter, the light dimmer, wrapping them in shadows. Lise felt a twinge of apprehension but pushed it aside, drawing on the confidence she had gained from her new knowledge. Approaching a clearing, the earth opened up to reveal a hidden glade, lush with ferns and vibrant flowers, a stark contrast to the encroaching shadows. The dweller pointed to a peculiar vine thick with berries. "Be careful with these. Some are nourishing, while others can be toxic if ingested," they instructed, illustrating the complexity of the forest's offerings. Lise knelt down, intrigued, and carefully examined the vine, using her new awareness to assess the risks involved. As she noted the differences, she turned to her mentor, gratitude swelling in her heart. "Thank you for guiding me through this. I'm beginning to truly understand," she said, a sense of purpose igniting within her. Chapter 4, The Dance of Shadows. As they explored the glade, a sudden chill swept through the air, bringing with it an uneasy silence that flickered over the vibrant landscape. Lise exchanged glances with the dweller, both sensing that something was shifting in the atmosphere. The forest seemed to hold its breath, and the woods, once friendly, now felt more ominous, as if aware of an approaching danger. "Did you feel that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, her instincts heightening as she scanned their surroundings for signs of trouble. The dweller nodded gravely. "The forest can sense changes, just as we do. We must remain vigilant. Something stirs in these woods." An undercurrent of tension filled the space between them as they began to prepare, an awareness growing that their journey held risks beyond what they had anticipated. Lise instinctively tightened her grip on the charm she had crafted, feeling its warmth resonating against her palm as a reassuring presence amidst the uncertainty. "Let's move cautiously and stay close together," she instructed, her voice steady even as anxiety danced beneath the surface. The team shuffled closer, eyes scanning the thick foliage as they pressed forward, acutely aware of their surroundings. They tread softly, each step deliberate, as the dense trees loomed overhead, casting long shadows that seemed to shift and sway with the wind. Lise pulled out her map, spotting markings that indicated potential safe paths, reminding herself to remain focused on their objectives. "Stay alert for any signs of movement or sound. We need to be prepared for anything," she emphasized, her leadership clearly establishing a plan of action as they approached the heart of the forest. As they ventured deeper, a rustling noise pierced through the stillness, causing everyone to freeze in place, tension coiling in the air. Lise instinctively raised her hand, signaling for silence as she strained to listen, her heart pounding in her chest. The forest dweller's expression turned serious, eyes narrowing as they scanned the trees around them for movement. "Something is out there," the dweller whispered, fear evident in their voice, igniting a spark of alarm among the team. Lise felt the weight of responsibility pressing down, knowing that she needed to manage both her fear and the team's reactions. "Stay close and prepare for anything," she instructed, her gaze fixed on the direction of the noise, readying herself for whatever emerged from the shadows. As the rustling grew louder, a figure darted through the underbrush, startling the group. Lise felt her heart race, ready to defend her team, but as the figure emerged into the clearing, she gasped in surprise. It was a young forest dweller, no older than she was, with wide eyes and tangled hair. "Please help me," the youth exclaimed, breathless and panicked, glancing back into the trees as if being pursued. Lise took a step forward, determined to address the sudden crisis. "What's happening? Why are you running?" she asked, concern flooding her voice. The young dweller pointed back into the shadows, fear clear in their eyes. "They're coming. You can't stay here." Lise felt a rush of urgency as the fear in the young dweller's voice pierced through her own growing anxiety. "Who's coming?" she pressed, scanning the forest edges for any signs of danger, her instincts on high alert. "They were chasing me," the youth replied, glancing over their shoulder again, terror evident in their expression. With a quick decision, Lise turned to her team, determination igniting within her. "We need to move now. Follow me." She beckoned the group to form a protective circle around the young dweller, ready to act as a united front against whatever threat loomed in the shadows. "Stay close and keep your eyes peeled for anything that might emerge," she instructed, the confidence in her voice meant to reassure both her team and the frightened youth. With the urgency propelling them forward, They began to navigate back through the trees, adrenaline coursing through their veins as they braced themselves for a potential confrontation. As they quickly traversed the shifting undergrowth, the tension in the air thickened, the sounds of pursuit echoing faintly behind them. Liz kept a steady pace, her heartbeat aligning with the urgency of their escape, while her mind raced with thoughts of protection and strategy. "We should head toward the creek," she suggested, recalling the map in her mind, knowing that moving toward the water would give them an advantage in case of an ambush. The young dweller nodded, keeping close, visibly shaken but trusting Lys's leadership. Kale stayed near her side, his expression resolute, ready to confront any threats they would encounter along the way. "Stay alert. If they pursue us, we need to prepare for anything," he reminded the group, echoing her earlier commands. Lys felt gratitude for the strength of her team, bolstered by the shared resolve as they pushed further into the thickening forest. Chapter 5. The Heart of the Forest. Les led the group deeper into the forest, her senses heightened as they navigated through the thick underbrush. The path narrowed, shadows lengthening around them, the soft sounds of nature filling the air with an eerie ambiance. She glanced back at the young dweller, who was visibly shaken, but brimming with determination as they pressed forward under her leadership. "We need to find a safe place to regroup and come up with a plan," she suggested, scanning the environment for suitable shelter. Suddenly, the rustle of leaves echoed not far ahead, causing everyone to tense, muscles tightening in anticipation of another encounter. "Is it them?" Kale whispered, his expression set, prepared for whatever lay ahead. Lys held up a hand, signaling for silence, instinctively drawing on the lessons learned about preparedness from her time with the forest dweller. Lys crouched low, peering through the thick foliage as the source of the noise came into view. Two rival scouts, their eyes scanning the trees for any sign of movement. Heart pounding, she motioned for her team to remain quiet, feeling the weight of every breath as they watched the scouts circle closer. "Stay behind the trees and be ready to move," she whispered, instilling a sense of calm under pressure as she quickly considered their options. Kale glanced at her, the tension visible in his stance as he awaited her next move, clearly trusting her instincts to lead them safely through. Summoning her courage, Lys knew she had to act. Engaging now might give them the chance to turn the tables. "On my signal, we create a diversion. We'll draw them away from the path," she instructed, her voice steady as she quickly devised a plan. As the two scouts continued their search, Les observed their movements intently, noting their patterns and the way they communicated through subtle gestures. She motioned for Kale to position himself near a cluster of low branches, where he could create a distraction when she was ready. "Get ready to throw that rock," she instructed quietly, pointing to a stone lying near his feet that could create noise without revealing their location. Kale nodded, understanding the plan without needing further explanation, his confidence bolstered by their shared history of facing dangers together. With her heart racing, Lys focused her energy, weaving the sand at her feet into small projectiles that would be hurled toward the opposite side of the clearing as soon as Kale triggered the distraction. The tension in the air thickened, and she felt the weight of their expectations as she prepared to execute the plan. Determined to safeguard her team and prove her leadership capabilities. With a deep breath, Lys steadied herself, signaling Kale to act. He picked up the rock, his muscles tensing as he launched it into the underbrush opposite them, the sound causing the scouts to turn sharply, their attention diverted. "Now!" she commanded, unleashing the small sand projectiles she had carefully crafted, sending them swirling toward the noise. The sudden movement created a gust of sand that enveloped the area, further obscuring their actions from the scouts' view. The rival scouts instinctively moved toward the disturbance, drawn by the noise, leaving the path temporarily unguarded. Watching the distraction unfold, Lys felt a rush of adrenaline, that tingle of exhilaration coursing through her as they seized the moment to slip past unnoticed. With the scouts distracted, Lys led her team into the clearing, her heart pounding with both fear and exhilaration. She glanced back to ensure everyone was following closely, their expressions a mixture of adrenaline and hope as they took advantage of the opening. Quickly, "Let's move," she urged, maintaining a low profile as they slipped past the remaining cover of trees. Kale walked beside her, admiration in his eyes as he witnessed her decisive actions under pressure. "Nice job, Lise. You really know how to handle a crisis," he said, his voice filled with enthusiasm as they hurried onward. Feeling bolstered by the compliment, she nodded, focusing on guiding them to safety while acknowledging that their unity was the key to overcoming the challenges they faced. As they reached a safe point deeper in the forest, Lise quickened her pace, adrenaline still fresh in her veins. The tension began to dissipate, but she knew they could not afford to let their guard down completely. Turning to her team, she assessed their expressions. Some appeared relieved, while others still harbored traces of doubt. "We did it, but we need to keep moving and stick to the plan," she urged, her voice steady, aiming to maintain their focus. Kale nodded, rallying the others as they drew closer, reflecting the shared sense of accomplishment that momentarily united them. Yet, in that fleeting moment of triumph, Lise felt a flicker of unease. The journey was far from over, and they would face challenges ahead that would test their resolve once again. Chapter 6: The Crucible of Decisions. The following day, Lise awoke to the soft light filtering through the thick foliage, the sounds of the forest awakening around her. After a brief moment of disorientation, she felt a renewed sense of purpose as she remembered the adventures and challenges that lay ahead. Gathering her belongings, she noticed the charm she had crafted still hanging from her gear, a symbol of the journey so far and the promise it held for her people. Moving quietly, she made her way to the makeshift communal area where her team was beginning to gather for breakfast. The air was filled with the rich scents of roasting herbs and freshly gathered fruits, creating an atmosphere of comfort amidst the uncertainty. As they shared their morning meal, laughter and stories exchanged between team members, Lise felt a deep sense of belonging among them, knowing that every experience had contributed to the collective strength they now embodied. After breakfast, Lise called her team together, ready to take stock of their supplies and discuss their next steps. The group gathered under a massive tree, the trunk wide and gnarled, providing a feeling of stability as they shared ideas. Lise pulled out the map they had been using, laying it flat against the cool earth. "We need to make sure we're fully prepared for our next move. Let's take inventory of what we have and what we still need," she said, her tone firm and focused. As each member reported on their gathered resources, she jotted down notes, ensuring that everyone was engaged and had an input on the planning process. The collaboration filled her with confidence, reinforcing the notion that this journey depended not just on her decisions, but on the strength of their teamwork. As the inventory continued, a younger member of the team raised a hand, his voice trembling slightly with uncertainty. I found this," he said, pulling out a small pouch filled with herbs that glimmered softly in the morning light. Lise turned to him, interest piqued. "What kind of herbs are those?" The young member hesitated, fear crossing his face, the weight of not knowing making him question his contribution. "I'm not sure. I thought they looked valuable," he admitted, glancing at the others for support. Lise felt a rush of empathy for him, recalling her own insecurities when she was first learning. "Let's examine them together." Bending down, she carefully took the pouch, inspecting the contents, aware of how important it was to create an environment where everyone felt valued and encouraged. Lise examined the herbs closely, appreciating their vibrant hues and the delicate scents that wafted up from the pouch. "I recognize these. They're called moon blossoms," she exclaimed, a smile breaking across her face as she recalled Mira's teachings. "They have restorative properties and can be used in potions to heal injuries. You've found something valuable." The young member's eyes widened with surprise and pride, a wave of confidence washing over him as his heart swelled with unexpected delight. "Really, I didn't know," he replied, his voice brightening as he straightened, feeling the weight of his earlier uncertainty lift. "Great job for spotting them. They'll definitely come in handy for what lies ahead," she continued, handing the pouch back to him with a nod of approval. This moment of recognition not only encouraged him, but also reinforced the strong bonds in their growing team, illustrating how each contribution, no matter how small, mattered in their collective journey. With the moon blossoms safely secured, Lise felt a renewed sense of purpose flood through her. Turning back to the group, she decided to utilize their newfound resources immediately, recognizing the potential these herbs held for their upcoming challenges. "Let's craft some healing salves while we have the time," she suggested, excitement lacing her voice, eager to share her knowledge and skills. "What if we create a batch that can heal minor wounds and another that can strengthen our defenses?" A team member chimed in, enthusiasm igniting their collaboration. Lise nodded eagerly, grateful for the input and the shared responsibility of collective effort, ready to lead them in crafting together. As they worked, laughter and camaraderie filled the air, demonstrating how their unity and shared goals fueled not just progress, but also a sense of belonging that resonated deeply among them. As the group worked together, Lise guided them through the process with confidence, her hands deftly mixing the moon blossoms with other ingredients. "First, we need to crush these blooms into a fine paste," she instructed, demonstrating the technique while encouraging others to follow suit. The atmosphere buzzed with energy as they collaborated, each member contributing their skills while sharing stories and laughter. Lise noticed how the younger members grew more vocal and engaged, gaining confidence through their shared efforts and her supportive leadership. "Now, let's add some binding agents and a touch of calming oil," she continued, guiding them step by step, reinforcing the cooperative spirit among her team. With every salve they crafted, Lise felt a sense of accomplishment wash over her, knowing they were not just preparing for challenges, but also building trust and unity within the group. Chapter 7, The Test of Resolve. With their healing salves prepared, the team set off again, the sense of camaraderie and purpose firmly in place. Lise led the way, her heart buoyed by their collective spirit, the earlier uncertainties starting to fade in the wake of their recent successes. As they walked, she encouraged the group to share what they had learned about the plants they gathered, promoting dialogue and reinforcing their bond. The path ahead twisted through the overgrown foliage, the sunlight breaking through in patches, illuminating their journey. Suddenly, the forest grew eerily quiet once more, the usual sounds of chirping birds and rustling leaves replaced by an unsettling stillness. Lise paused, instinctively scanning their surroundings, the hairs on the back of her neck prickling as a sense of foreboding settled over her. Feeling the tension rise, Lise motioned for the group to quiet down, her heart racing as she listened intently for any signs of danger. The stillness felt profound, unsettling, and her instincts urged her to remain vigilant. "Something isn't right," she whispered, her voice low and urgent, as the others exchanged anxious glances, sensing the shift in atmosphere. Cale moved closer, a frown on his face echoing her concerns. "Do you think it's the rival faction again? They could be lying in wait," he suggested, his tone serious. The team grew uneasy, the air thick with uncertainty as they huddled together, preparing for what might come next. Lise took a deep breath, feeling more responsible than ever, and decided they needed to be proactive in engaging the threat, rather than waiting for it to find them. Lise scanned the forest, searching for the source of the disturbance, and then made a quick decision to move towards the narrow path to the right. "Let's go this way," she instructed, pointing toward the less dense area, hoping they could avoid drawing attention while remaining aware of their surroundings. As they crept along, every snap of a twig or rustle of leaves heightened their senses, reinforcing the need for caution. The tension hung heavily in the air, and Lise could feel the weight of her team's apprehension pressing down on her, amplifying her desire to lead effectively. She turned to Cale, who walked closely beside her, his expression reflecting concern but also trust in her instincts. Dialogue snippet. "If it gets too risky, we pull back," he suggested, impressing upon her the importance of their safety while valuing the mission. Lise nodded, grateful for his support, but knowing that their approach needed to remain both cautious and decisive, a balance she was determined to maintain. As they moved cautiously along the narrow path, Lise felt a palpable sense of urgency coursing through her veins. With each step, she scanned for any signs of danger, keenly aware of the importance of vigilance in unpredictable terrain. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from nearby, and a large branch fell from above, narrowly missing Kale as he turned to look back at Lise. Everyone jumped at the sound, adrenaline surging as the tension spiked once more, the quiet of the forest shattered by the sudden chaos. "Are you all right?" Lise exclaimed, rushing to Kale's side, her heart racing from the near miss. Kale nodded, still shaken but maintaining focus on the task at hand. "Just surprised, that's all. We need to be more careful," he replied, awareness dawning on him. Lise took a deep breath, reminding herself that their proximity to danger was closed, and urged the team to continue onward, reinforcing their resolve to stay alert and unified. With the group thoroughly shaken, Lise took a moment to look at each member, assessing their reactions and strengthening her resolve. "Let's regroup for a second. We need to ensure we're operating as one unit," she said, her voice calming and authoritative as they paused on the path. The team listened, their expressions reflecting a mix of fear and determination, all feeling the weight of the forest closing in around them. "As we move on, remember to communicate. If you spot anything unusual, let the others know immediately," she instructed, emphasizing the importance of vigilance and cooperation. Kale stepped closer, offering a reassuring smile as he added, "We're in this together. Let's not lose sight of why we're here." Feeling the solidarity form among the group, Lise took a deep breath, knowing they needed to be a cohesive unit if they were to navigate the unknown challenges ahead. As they resumed their journey along the path, Lise felt the tension start to ease, the group moving with more confidence and unity. The sounds of the forest returned, birds chirping a soft melody that filled the air, replacing the earlier clamor of doubt. Lise led with purpose, ensuring they remained mindful of their surroundings, and began to notice subtle signs, broken twigs and disturbed foliage, indicating they were not alone. "Stay alert, everyone. We can't forget the risks out here," she reminded them, her voice steady, instilling the importance of constant awareness. Just then, they spotted a small clearing where sunlight broke through the canopy, illuminating a beautiful grove of rare flowers. Lise paused, torn between the allure of discovery and the need to remain focused on their objectives, but she couldn't help but marvel at the beauty before them. Chapter 8, The Final Stand. As they stepped into the clearing, the vibrant beauty of the grove captivated Lise and her team, bright colors dazzling in the filtered sunlight. The air was rich with the intoxicating scents of blooming flowers, and for a moment the weight of their mission faded in the presence of nature's splendor. However, the peaceful atmosphere was abruptly shattered by a rapid movement at the edge of the clearing. A large creature, snarling and on edge, emerged from the brush, eyes locked onto Lise and her team, its stance ready for confrontation. Lise felt her heart leap into her throat, adrenaline flooding her system as instincts kicked in, preparing her for action. "Everyone, fall back and take positions," she shouted, a sense of urgency weaved through her voice as the tension in the clearing shifted dramatically. Lise quickly stepped back, instinctively positioning herself between the creature and her team, her heart pounding as she assessed the threat. Desperately, she called upon her sand-weaving abilities, summoning grains of sand to swirl around her, creating a temporary barrier that could protect her group. "Kale, Yarek, flank me. Everyone else, hold steady until I give the signal," she commanded, her voice steady despite the tension crackling in the air. With concentrated effort, she directed the sand to rise, obstructing the creature's line of sight, hoping to deter its aggressive stance while setting the stage for an escape. Kale nodded, moving swiftly to obey her orders, while Jarek hesitated, his eyes flickering between the creature's snarling form and Lise, clearly struggling with fear and uncertainty. "Let's not provoke it more. We have to retreat," Jarek shouted, trying to maintain composure while feeling the pressure of the moment weighing heavily on him. Lise sensed the urgency in Jarek's voice, but she also felt the stirrings of defiance within her. "We can't run blindly. We need to make sure we are utilizing the edge we have, the barrier I've created," she insisted, determination fueling her words. As the creature paced, growling and circling, she focused on maintaining the stability of the sand barrier, feeling the energy from the forest invigorate her resolve. "Stay calm, and let's think this through," she urged her team, attempting to project confidence even as her heart raced in response to the creature's menacing presence. Kale shot her a look of reassurance, moving closer, ready to support her as he observed her weaving the sand into a more fortified shape. The tension thickened in the air, but Lise knew that they had to work together if they were to defuse the situation without further provocation. With her focus locked on the creature, Lise felt the barrier of sand shifting under her command, adjusting to the movements of the threat as it advanced closer. She realized that they needed to provide a distraction to buy them time without escalating the conflict further. "Kale, can you throw something to divert its attention while I strengthen the barrier?" she asked, strategizing quickly under pressure. He nodded, quickly grabbing a nearby stone, his expression set with determination as he prepared to follow her lead. As he launched the stone into the bushes to the left, the creature's gaze snapped in that direction, momentarily disoriented by the noise. Lise seized the opportunity to reinforce her sand wall, weaving it into an intricate pattern that glimmered under the filtered light, buying precious seconds for her team to regroup. As the creature turned toward the source of the distraction, Lise felt a surge of relief mixed with adrenaline. Kale took advantage of the diversion and quickly moved closer to her, ready to assist with the next steps of their escape plan. "Now's our chance. Let's backtrack quietly," he urged, his eyes fixed on the creature as it lost interest in their position. Lise nodded, her heart racing as she signaled for the team to follow her lead, urging them to retreat slowly while maintaining focus on their surroundings. "Stay as quiet as you can. We can't let it know we're leaving," she instructed, her voice a mere whisper but filled with urgency. The team moved in unison, trusting her judgment as they navigated through the thick underbrush, feeling the pressure of their escape drive them forward. As they navigated away from the clearing, Lise kept her senses heightened, acutely aware of any sounds that might signal danger. The adrenaline from the confrontation coursed through her, sharpening her focus as they made their way through the thick foliage, weaving around branches and jumping over roots. "Did we lose it?" Kale asked, glancing back nervously, the stress of their close call still evident on his face. Lise paused for a moment, listening intently, and shook her head. "We need to keep moving until we're safely out of this part of the forest," she replied, maintaining a sense of urgency. The tension among the group was palpable. A few members exchanged silent glances, uncertainty creeping back into the atmosphere after the encounter. Feeling the responsibility of her leadership pressing on her, Lise focused on encouraging her team. "We're doing well. This is just a step in the right direction. Stay close and keep your spirits up." Chapter 9, The Aftermath of Conflict. Lise and her team finally emerged from the dense underbrush into a small clearing, their hearts racing as they took in the surroundings of what felt like a safe haven. The sunlight broke through the canopy overhead, illuminating wildflowers that sprinkled the forest floor, reminding them of the beauty that surrounded them amidst the chaos. However, as they stepped into the open space, the reality of their recent encounter weighed heavily on their minds. Lise felt a sense of loss settle in. They had narrowly escaped, but at the cost of lingering doubts and fears. She glanced around at her companions, noticing the wariness in their expressions as they considered the implications of the encounter. "Take a moment to regroup," she instructed gently, understanding that they needed to process what had happened before moving forward. As they settled in the clearing, Lise took a moment to check on the team, ensuring everyone was physically unharmed but also emotionally steady after the confrontation. She noticed Kale pacing slightly, his fingers rubbing the back of his neck, a telltale sign of his lingering anxiety. "Hey, let's sit for a bit and catch our breath," she suggested, guiding him towards a cluster of large stones that formed a natural seating area. The team followed her lead, collapsing onto the stones, grateful for the chance to rest, even as the tension of their ordeal hung in the air. "We were lucky to escape," one of the younger members admitted, looking downcast as they reflected on the events. Lise nodded, recognizing the weight of his words. "We were. But remember, every experience teaches us something we can use going forward," she encouraged, trying to shift their perspective toward hope and resilience. As the group settled into the clearing, Kale broke the reflective silence, his voice tinged with concern. "Lise, what if we hadn't made it? What if things go south next time?" he asked, his brow furrowing as he faced her. Liz could see the uncertainty in his eyes, and it tugged at her heart. The fear of losing yet another ally weighed heavily on them all. "I understand why you're worried," she began, her tone steady, "but we can't let fear dictate our actions. Our strength lies in our ability to adapt and grow." Sensing his lingering doubts, she added, "Think of how we worked together to escape before. That wasn't just luck. It was our teamwork." Her words hung in the air, serving to both reassure Kale and remind the others of the power they held when united. This moment emphasized the importance of addressing fears openly, showcasing her growth in navigating the emotional landscape of leadership. Lise looked around at her team, their faces reflecting a mixture of anxiety and determination, and felt a surge of responsibility for their well-being. "I promise we'll find a way to navigate these challenges together," she assured them, her voice imbued with conviction. One of the quieter team members, a young weaver, spoke up nervously. "What if the next fight is worse? What if we lose someone?" The question hung heavily in the air, stirring unease among the group. Lise paused, feeling the weight of their fears, knowing she must address the uncertainty head-on without diminishing their concerns. "Every journey has its risks, but we'll prepare and train for whatever may come," she replied, her tone resolute. This reassurance not only calmed the young weaver, but also reminded the others that despite their fears, they possessed the ability to work together to face anything head-on. Feeling a renewed sense of determination swell within her, Lise turned to the group, her eyes alight with passion. "We've faced risks before and come out stronger. Each of us carries skills that can turn the tide in difficult moments," she said, her voice growing steadier with conviction. As she spoke, she noticed small nods of agreement among her team, the promise of faith and unity sparking hope. "We can train together, bolster our defenses, and sharpen our strategies. This isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving," she continued, focusing on empowering each team member's unique contributions. In that moment, the fear that hung around them began to lighten, replaced by excitement and anticipation of what they could achieve collectively. "Let's plan for our next steps. We can adapt and evolve to handle whatever comes our way," she finished, drawing them closer in the circle of support. The group slowly began to disperse, motivated by Lisa's words and eager to implement their new focus on training and strategy. As they separated into pairs and small teams, the excitement in the air was palpable, rekindling the sense of purpose that had dwindled during their earlier challenges. Lise felt a lightness in her chest, knowing they were committed to growth together, transforming their fears into a shared strength. She moved among them, offering guidance and encouragement, reinforcing her role as a leader who was not afraid to face challenges head-on. "Let's meet back here at dusk to share what we've learned and how we can improve," she announced, ensuring everyone felt included in their journey forward. As they began practicing their skills, Liz couldn't help but feel a growing confidence, recognizing that her determination was fostering resilience in others, a testament to the bond they had formed. Chapter 10. The Turning Point. As twilight descended upon the forest, a sense of urgency filled the air as Liz gathered her team near the training grounds. The golden glow of the setting sun filtered through the trees, casting long shadows that danced across the forest floor. Liz, fueled by a renewed sense of purpose, looked around at her companions, their faces alight with determination and focus as they prepared for their upcoming challenge. "Tonight, we put our training to the test," she declared, her voice clear and confident, drawing everyone's attention. She sensed a palpable shift in the group, a mix of excitement and anxiety, as they braced themselves for the task that awaited them. "Remember everything we've worked on and trust in each other's abilities. We're stronger together," she reassured them, feeling the weight of leadership settle comfortably on her shoulders. Liz took a deep breath and watched as her teammates moved into their designated positions, each member ready to demonstrate their newly acquired skills. The tension of the day hung in the air, thick with anticipation, but Liz felt a sense of calm amidst the chaos as she mentally reviewed the strategy they had all agreed upon. "Let's start with the defensive maneuvers," she called out, signaling to Kale to initiate the first exercise. where they would demonstrate their ability to respond collaboratively. Kale stepped forward, leading a practice scenario where they would defend against mock attacks, embodying the training they had rehearsed. As the others followed his lead, Liz observed carefully, noting strengths and weaknesses in their formations. She felt pride in how much progress they had made together. Occasionally, she interjected with advice, drawing from her experiences, reinforcing her role as a leader while helping to refine their actions. As the practice continued, a sudden noise erupted from the nearby underbrush, jolting everyone to a halt. Eyes widened and breaths held. The group exchanged anxious glances, uncertainty flooding the atmosphere like a wave. Liz sensed the tension escalate. Her instincts kicked in, reminding her of the unpredictability of the forest. "Everyone, keep your positions. We need to assess what's out there," she commanded, her voice steady despite the rising fear within her. As they listened intently, the leaves rustled again, and another figure emerged, this time a forest dweller, looking weary but determined, holding a vibrant flower in one hand. "Please, I need your help. There's trouble brewing at the border," the dweller exclaimed, urgency lacing their words as they broke into the clearing. Liz stepped forward, drawn by the intensity in the forest dweller's eyes, sensing the urgency behind their plea. "What's happening at the border?" she asked, her heart racing as the weight of the situation settled over her like a cloak of responsibility. "There are scout parties from the rival faction advancing closer, and they're catching our people off guard," the dweller explained, panting from exertion. Liz felt a surge of resolve. They couldn't allow another surprise attack to threaten their community. "Gather your strength, team. We need to head to the border now," she commanded, the shift in her tone marking her growth as a leader ready to face emerging threats. As everyone scrambled to prepare, Kale offered a supportive nod, acknowledging Lisa's decisiveness and the urgency of the situation, reinforcing the bond they had developed amidst the challenges. As they dashed through the forest, the urgency of their mission propelled them forward, the terrain becoming a blur of greens and browns. Lise led the way, her heart racing, each step taken in solidarity with her team, the weight of their collective responsibility fueling her resolve. "Keep your eyes peeled and stay alert. We don't know what we're walking into," she urged, her voice steady yet laced with urgency. The group moved swiftly, their rhythm in sync, but beneath the surface, a current of anxiety simmered. Behind her, she heard whispers. Some members expressed concern about the dangers they might face at the border and the risks of confronting the rivals again. Lise could sense the trepidation. It was a familiar feeling, but she knew their journey had prepared them for challenges, and she was determined to reassure her team as their leader. As they approached the border, the tension in the group became palpable, the air thick with uncertainty and expectation. Liz could see the flickering torches of the rival camp through the trees, their light casting eerie shadows that danced across the forest floor. "Remember the plan. Stick together and follow my lead," she instructed, rallying her team as they reached the edge of the clearing. Kale and the others nodded, their expressions a mix of fear and determination, evident in their resolve to face whatever lay ahead. Liz took a moment to center herself, her heart pounding but heartened by her responsibility to guide them through this confrontation. "Let's do this. We're not just fighting for ourselves, but for a chance at peace," she reminded them, her voice firm and filled with purpose as they stepped forward into the unknown. Chapter 11. The Web of Alliances. Lise and her team emerged from the thick underbrush at the edge of the rival camp, the tension in the air palpable as they assessed their surroundings. Torches flickered around the clearing, illuminating the faces of the rival faction members gathered in groups, engaged in heated discussions. Each exchange felt charged, brimming with potential conflict, igniting a sense of urgency within her. They needed to act quickly before being spotted. "All right, we need to be discreet. Let's separate into two groups and gather information without drawing attention," she instructed, her voice barely above a whisper. Kale nodded, ready to support her commands as they coordinated their approach together, forming a plan that allowed for flexibility. With a final glance around, Lise felt the weight of leadership settle on her shoulders as they readied themselves to navigate the complexities of negotiating peace amidst potential hostility. Lys and her group split off into their designated teams, moving quietly among the trees to avoid drawing attention from the rival faction. She led her team toward a cluster of tents at the far side of the camp, the arrangement appearing less guarded, giving them a perfect vantage point to gather information. As they settled into position behind some bushes, Lys strained to overhear snippets of conversation that hinted at the rival faction's plans. "They've gathered too many resources. We can't let them take what's ours." A rival leader's voice cut through the quiet, sending a chill of urgency through her. Lys exchanged concerned glances with Kale, understanding the stakes just elevated significantly. They needed to act carefully. "Let's note everything we can. This could inform our next steps," she urged, determination fueling her focus as they prepared to gather intelligence for a strategic counter. As they listened intently, Kale couldn't suppress his urge to offer a thought. "This may not be just about the resources. They're planning something bigger," he whispered, tension radiating from his posture. Lys shot him a glance, her instincts aligning with his intuition, signaling that they needed to be vigilant. Just then, a rival scout wandered closer, shifting the dynamics of their situation. "Stay hidden," she whispered urgently, feeling her heart race as they all pressed back against the bushes, holding their breaths. Moments passed like an eternity, each rustling leaf heightening their anxiety, and Lys could sense the stakes rising as the scout inspected the area, unknowingly closing in on their position. Lys held her breath as the scout drew nearer, every instinct urging her to remain perfectly still. The tension in the air was electric, and she could feel her heart pounding in rhythm with the approaching footsteps. "What do we do if we're discovered?" whispered Kale, his eyes wide with concern, scanning the area for an escape route. With a quick glance around, Lys contemplated their options, knowing they needed a plan in case the situation escalated. As the scout paused, inspecting the area just a few feet away, she slowly reached for her charm, feeling its warmth beneath her fingers, a source of courage in the moment. "Trust in our preparation and stay calm," she whispered, determined to keep her team focused as the scout's presence threatened to unravel their hard-earned progress. As the scout suddenly turned his back, Lys seized the opportunity, motioning for her team to make a quiet retreat. "Now," she whispered urgently, leading them back into the thicket, careful not to rustle any branches. They moved swiftly, careful to maintain silence, hearts pounding as they navigated through the underbrush. Once they were a safe distance away, the group paused, glancing at each other with a mix of relief and lingering tension. Kale exhaled sharply, shaking his head. "That was too close. We need a better plan next time," he said, frustration evident in his tone. Lys nodded in agreement, recognizing the need for more strategic foresight and feeling the pressure of their reliance on her leadership. Lys took a deep breath, steadying herself as she realized the gravity of what had just unfolded. "Okay, we need to regroup and reassess our approach," she said, gathering the team close to her. She looked at each member, gauging their reactions, understanding that the close call had heightened their awareness, but also sparked doubts in their abilities. "We learned something important today about skirting too close to the rival camp. Let's rethink our strategy moving forward," she continued, grounding her voice with intention. Kale, still catching his breath, nodded in agreement. "We can't let our guard down. We need to be smarter about how we operate from now on," he added, sharing the weight of responsibility with her. Lys felt the shift as the team rallied around her words, their earlier doubts slowly giving way to renewed determination as they prepared to face the unknown together. Chapter 12, The Path of Sacrifice. The next day, Lys awoke with the first light pushing through the forest canopy, invigorated by the challenges that lay ahead. After a quick breakfast with her team, she gathered them for an urgent meeting, the atmosphere buzzing with anticipation. "Today, we need to secure more resources and strengthen our defenses," she announced, laying out a new plan to enhance their preparations. Lys felt the weight of their expectations as she spoke, knowing that every decision would shape the outcome of their mission. She pointed to the map they had been using, identifying areas where they could find medicinal herbs and additional supplies. Let's focus on gathering what we need to increase our chances against the rival faction, she urged, her determination palpable as her team nodded in agreement. With the plan in place, Lise began assigning specific tasks to each member based on their strengths and skills. Kale, you'll lead the search for herbs over by the creek. We need those for healing, she instructed, watching as he nodded with a determined expression. Jarek and the others can scout ahead and confirm the safest routes to take, she continued, ensuring that everyone felt involved in the mission. Lise moved through the group, checking in on each one, and Elle providing encouragement and clarifying directions, her organizational skills now evident with each interaction. Let's meet back here in a few hours to share our findings. Remember, effective teamwork is key to our success, she reminded them as they dispersed. Her confidence radiated, reassuring the group as they set off to execute their roles, a renewed sense of purpose driving their effort. As the team set off, Liz felt a mix of anticipation and apprehension. She knew all eyes were on her for guidance. Moving through the forest, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, a sensation that kept her senses sharp. Suddenly, a rustle in the bushes caught her attention, prompting her to raise a hand for silence. "Wait, everyone," she whispered, scanning the area as her heart raced with uncertainty. The group stopped, the tension in the air palpable as they all looked to Lise for direction, their trust in her judgment evident. "Let's not rush. We need to confirm that it's safe before moving further," she instructed, signaling for them to hold their positions until she could ascertain the source of the noise. As they stood silently, the rustling grew louder, and a figure emerged from the trees, a young forest dweller, visibly frazzled and out of breath. "Please help! They're after me!" the dweller cried, wide-eyed and trembling in fear, drawing immediate concern from the group. Lise stepped forward instinctively, placing herself before the young dweller, her protective instincts kicking in. "Who is after you? What's happening?" she asked urgently, her eyes scanning the forest for any sign of danger. The youth pointed anxiously into the trees, stammering, "The rival faction. They've been scouting and hunting anyone who wanders too close." Realizing the gravity of the situation, Liz felt her determination surge. They needed to act quickly to protect their own and understand the emerging threat. Lise felt the weight of responsibility settle on her as she assessed the urgency of the young dweller's situation. "Okay, we need to get you to safety right now," she said, her voice calm yet firm, determined to prevent further panic among her own team. The group nodded in agreement, their expressions shifting from uncertainty to shared resolve as they prepared for action. "Kale, you take the lead and scout ahead with the others. Make sure the path is clear," she instructed, recognizing his ability to navigate the forest quickly. Lise turned back to the young dweller, reassuring them, "We're going to get you out of here. Just stick close to us." As they began to move, she felt the adrenaline course through her, the weight of leadership pressing on her shoulders, but also igniting her determination to protect everyone in their collective journey. As they navigated through the thick underbrush, the air grew tense with anticipation, every rustle of leaves amplifying the sense of urgency. Liz led the way, keenly aware of both the forest's beauty and its potential dangers, her senses heightened as they pressed onward. "Keep an eye out for any signs that we're being followed," she instructed, feeling the weight of her leadership on her shoulders as they moved cautiously. The team responded with determination, their focus on the task at hand, despite the fear lurking beneath the surface. Within moments, they spotted a slight shift in the foliage behind them, sending a ripple of anxiety through the group. "Stay close and alert. We can't let our guard down now," Liz urged, her voice steady, but internally she felt a surge of doubt, a reminder that the forest held mysteries yet to unfold. Chapter 13, The Clash of Intentions. As they fanned out through the trees, Lise felt the urgency pulsating in her chest, knowing that every second counted in their search for Nira. The path ahead narrowed, strewn with roots and fallen branches, but her focus remained sharp as she continued to lead the way. "Stay close and keep your voices down," she whispered, her heightened senses alert to any sounds that might indicate Nira's presence or further danger. The group split into pairs, following her lead. Yet she felt a flicker of anxiety about their separation, recalling the earlier ambush that had shaken them all. Suddenly, the forest grew eerily silent again, amplifying the tension that hung heavy in the air, making it hard to distinguish every sound around them. "Do you think we'll find her alive?" whispered one of the younger members, their voice trembling, revealing the fear that gripped the team. Les sensed the weight of the question, the worry reflected in the eyes of the young teammate. She paused for a moment, gathering her thoughts before replying, "We're doing everything we can. We can't lose hope." As they continued to search, she scanned the ground for any signs of Nira, her heart pounding in her chest with each step. She thought of her allies' well-being and the bond they had formed. Just ahead, she spotted some fresh footprints in the mud, sending a jolt of adrenaline through her as she knelt to examine them. "Look, these must be Nira's," she exclaimed, pointing to the distinct pattern. Feeling the shift in energy, she turned to the others. "We're close. Let's stay focused and keep moving." Liz felt a surge of hope invigorate her as they followed the trail, each step heightening their anticipation. She instructed the group to spread out slightly, keeping their eyes peeled for any additional signs that could lead them to Nira. As they searched, tension mounted, and the previous unease lingered in the air, making everyone hyper-aware of the forest around them. "Remember, stay alert. If Nira is in trouble, we'll need to be prepared for anything," she reminded them, instilling a focus in her voice. Suddenly, a soft moan echoed through the trees, freezing the group in their tracks, and with urgency, Lise rushed toward the sound. "Did you hear that? It could be her!" she called out, adrenaline pumping as they quickened their pace, each of them hoping for a rescue. Lise urged her team forward, their previous doubts replaced by urgency as they neared the source of the sound. Pushing through a thick patch of bushes, she broke into a small clearing and gasped at the sight before her. Nira lay on the ground, visibly injured but conscious, struggling against the ropes binding her to a low branch. "Lise, thank the stars you found me," Nira exclaimed, her voice strained, yet filled with relief at seeing familiar faces. Lise knelt beside her, instinctively reaching for the ropes as she assessed the situation, recognizing the need to act quickly. "Hang on, we're going to get you out of this," she urged, her heart pounding as she focused on freeing her ally while watching the surrounding area for any signs of danger. As Lise hurried to cut the ropes binding Nira, she felt the tension in the air shift as they all strained for any signs of pursuit. "Quickly, we don't have much time," Kale urged, eyes scanning the tree line for movement that could signal the rival's return. Lys worked swiftly, her hands steady despite the urgency pressing against her. "I can't believe they found me, and I didn't see it coming," Nira breathed out. A hint of fear tinged her voice, highlighting the vulnerability they all felt in the moment. Lys glanced up at Nira, determination resonating in her chest. "We'll get you out of here safely. You're no longer alone in this," she promised, feeling her role as a protector solidifying within her. With a final pull, the ropes fell away, and Nira sat up slowly, gratitude shining in her eyes as she took a moment to gather her strength, their bond deepening through shared struggle. With Nira freed, Lys helped her to her feet, feeling a surge of relief wash over her as the three of them quickly regrouped. "Are you hurt?" Lys asked, concern filling her voice as she assessed Nira's condition, noting the bruises forming on her arms. "I'll manage," Nira replied, determination shining through her pain. "But we need to leave now before they come back." Lys nodded, quickly organizing the group again as they prepared for a hasty retreat. "Let's stick to the paths we know and use the cover of the trees. We'll head back to the nearest safe zone," she instructed, her leadership instincts guiding them through the urgency of their escape. Kale moved closer to Nira, offering his support, while the others gathered around, reinforcing the sense of unity ahead of the unknown they would face. Feeling the weight of her responsibility, Lys reassured herself that they would make it through this together, driven by the lessons learned from their journey so far. Chapter 14, The Bond of Trust. As they navigated back through the forest, Lys felt a sense of urgency pulsing through her veins. Nira walked beside her, and despite the fading adrenaline from their recent encounter, the tension remained palpable between them. Lys glanced at her, sensing the unspoken fears and gratitude swirling beneath the surface, eager to mend any lingering doubts from the ambush. "We'll be okay. Just keep your focus and stick close," Lise reassured, offering a supportive smile, hoping to bolster Nira's spirits. Nira nodded, though there was a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes, revealing the toll the ordeal had taken on her. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on Lise. It now felt more critical than ever to ensure their safety and maintain the bond they had cultivated during the journey. Upon reaching a clearing, Lise paused, taking a moment to gather her thoughts and survey their surroundings. The sounds of the forest enveloped them, a serene contrast to the chaos they had just navigated. Still, the unease lingered, and she understood they needed to solidify their next steps carefully. "Let's take a moment to regroup. We need to assess our options before we head further into danger," she suggested, her voice calm and commanding. Nira shifted closer. "We need more allies, but how do we approach them after what happened?" Lise felt the tension ripple through her as she considered their situation. "We can't let fear keep us from reaching out. I believe we can still find support if we're open about what we need," she replied, as they shared determined looks, ready to make vital connections moving forward. Lise motioned for everyone to sit on the soft grass, forming a circle where they could feel more united and secure. The air was filled with the scent of blooming wildflowers, softening the tense atmosphere as they prepared to strategize. "Let's discuss how we'll approach our allies," she began, taking the lead with renewed confidence. "There are several factions in the area. We need to identify which ones might be willing to help us," she continued, her eyes scanning each team member's face for input. Kale piped up. "The forest dwellers could help, especially since we have a connection with Nira. They might see us as allies now." Nira nodded in agreement, her confidence growing, but Lise could tell she still harbored fears about confronting the factions after the earlier incident. "Let's plan a meeting with them. Together, we can build on the trust we've started to create," Lise suggested, feeling the excitement of possibility mingled with the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. As the planning continued, the discussion turned heated, with Yarek voicing concerns about reaching out to potential allies. "I'm not sure we can trust them after what happened last time. What if they turn us away, or worse, betray us?" he argued, crossing his arms defiantly. Lise took a moment to absorb his words, recognizing the fear that lay beneath his skepticism. "Trust is built over time," she replied, trying to convey both understanding and strength. "We cannot let one setback dictate our actions. If we show that we're committed to collaboration and peace, they may respond positively." The intensity of Jarek's gaze reflected his uncertainty, but Lise noticed Kale's supportive nod beside her, reinforcing her resolve. "Remember, every alliance starts with a single step. If we don't reach out, we risk facing the threats alone," she added, her conviction resonating within the group. The contrasting emotions within the circle were palpable, but Lise remained determined to transform the discussion into actionable steps. Recognizing the need for resolution, Lise took a deep breath and suggested, "Let's set up a meeting with the forest dwellers. We'll bring the messages from our last encounter and show our commitment to working together." The team considered her proposal, and Kale spoke up, saying, "If we present our intentions clearly, they might be willing to listen. We need to show them that unity can benefit us all." Lise could see a glimmer of hope begin to flicker among the group, easing the tension that had built from the earlier conflicts. "Let's prepare a few offerings, a gesture of goodwill," she added, turning her eyes to the gathered herbs and crafted charms they had prepared. One of the younger team members chimed in, "We can show them how much we value their help by offering our skills in return." Lise nodded, grateful for the input, feeling the collective energy shift toward a positive resolve. With a newfound sense of purpose, they began strategizing how to approach the forest dwellers, demonstrating their commitment to unity and collaboration. With their preparations complete, Lise felt a buzz of anticipation settle over the group as they set out to meet the forest dwellers. The path led them through dense trees, the familiar sounds of the forest providing a reassuring backdrop to their mission. Lise glanced back at her team, noting the mix of excitement and nervousness written on their faces, especially Jarek, who still grappled with doubts. "Remember, We're coming as allies, not intruders. Trust in our intentions, she reminded them, her voice steady and confident. As they approached the dwelling place of the forest dwellers, Lise took a deep breath, mentally rehearsing what she would say once they arrived. She could almost feel the weight of her past lessons guiding her, empowering her to lead with clarity and intention, ready to bridge the gap between their worlds. Chapter 15, The Resolve of Commitment. Upon arriving at the gathering place of the forest dwellers, Lys immediately felt the shift in atmosphere. The clearing was vibrant, filled with colorful decorations made from flowers and leaves, but caution lingered as they approached the group gathered at the center. Many faces turned to her and her team, expressions a mixture of curiosity and skepticism, as whispers began to ripple through the crowd. Determined to make a positive impression, Lise straightened her shoulders and stepped forward. "Thank you for meeting with us. We come to honor our commitment and forge a stronger alliance," she called out, her voice clear and confident. As she spoke, she noticed the reactions from the crowd. Some seemed interested, while others remained visibly cautious, testing the waters for what was to come. Lise observed the gathered forest dwellers carefully, her heart racing as she awaited their response. The elder among them stepped forward, eyeing her with cautious curiosity, taking time to assess her sincerity. "We have heard of your endeavors," the elder said slowly, their voice steady and commanding. "But what makes you think you can come into our lands and ask for allegiance?" Lys felt the weight of the elder's scrutiny and understood the gravity behind the question. "Because we believe in cooperation and respect for those who share this land," she replied, choosing her words thoughtfully. "We wish to build a future where our strengths can protect and uplift us both," she continued, hoping to convey the genuine intention that fueled her journey. The elder raised an eyebrow, their expression shifting between skepticism and intrigue as they considered Lysa's words. "Cooperation breeds strength, but trust is earned, not given easily," the elder responded, their tone cautious but not unkind. Lys nodded, understanding the significance of what was at stake. "We are here to earn that trust," she assured them, stepping forward slightly to convey her sincerity. Behind her, Cale subtly shifted, ready to back her up, sensing the weight of the moment as the tension in the air tightened. "Let us show you. We have resources we can offer, and knowledge about what's happening beyond our borders. Together, we can protect our people." Several forest dwellers exchanged glances, murmuring among themselves, weighing her proposal as they considered their potential path forward. Lys watched the forest dwellers closely as they debated her offer, their expressions revealing a mix of interest and hesitation. One of the younger dwellers stepped forward, an adventurous spark in their eyes. "What if they betray us? We've had enough empty promises from outsiders," they questioned, voicing the concern that lingered among many. Lys felt the tension in the air, recognizing that trust would not be easily won. "I understand your caution, but we're not like others who've come before. Our strength lies in honesty and the commitment to protect our shared home," she replied, her voice resonating with sincerity. Her heartfelt words seemed to linger as the elder exchanged silent glances with the others, gauging their reactions and considering the weight of her commitment. After what felt like an eternity, the elder stepped forward, a thoughtful expression crossing their face. "Perhaps a demonstration of your abilities is in order," they proposed, their tone measured but open, indicating a willingness to engage. Lisa's heart raced at the possibility. This was her chance to prove their commitment and capabilities. "Absolutely. We can show you how our skills can benefit both our peoples," she affirmed, excitement bubbling beneath her carefully composed exterior. As they prepared to showcase their knowledge and abilities, she felt the weight of her team's hope resting on her shoulders. Cale stood beside her, ready to support her lead, reflecting the unity they had cultivated through their experiences together. Lys turned to her team, feeling the excitement ripple through the group as they prepared to demonstrate their skills to the forest dwellers. "Let's showcase the healing salves we created with the moon blossoms," she suggested, eager to exhibit the fruit of their collective labor. Cale nodded, stepping forward to assist her. "We can explain how they work and how they can benefit your people," he added, glancing at the forest dwellers with a mix of determination and hope. As they began to prepare their display, Lise organized the salves, explaining the benefits of each as she demonstrated the protective properties to the audience. Each charm is crafted with intention and care, to not only heal, but also to safeguard our community from future threats, she articulated, showcasing her growth in both knowledge and presentation. The forest dwellers watched intently, and the elders' expression shifted from skepticism to intrigue as they absorbed the demonstration, signaling an opening for deeper trust to develop. Chapter 16, The Echoes of Betrayal. As the demonstration wrapped up, a sudden commotion erupted from the outskirts of the gathering, drawing all eyes to the edge of the clearing. Lise turned, her stomach sinking as she spotted a group of rival scouts emerging from the trees, their expressions fierce and threatening. "Prepare yourselves," she shouted, adrenaline coursing through her as she took stock of the approaching danger. The friendly atmosphere of collaboration shifted instantaneously, replaced by the tension of confrontation. Lise felt the weight of responsibility swell again. They had to defend their newfound alliance and protect the forest dwellers from this external threat. "Stick together. We can outsmart them if we work as one," she urged, rallying her team as they braced for the impending clash. Feeling urgency clawing at her, Lise quickly scanned her surroundings, looking for any usable resources that could aid in their defense. "Kale, organize the team to create barriers from the sand. We need to fortify our position," she commanded, her voice cutting through the rising chaos. Without hesitation, Keel shouted back instructions to the others, quickly gathering their weapons and materials to prepare a protective perimeter. Lise instinctively raised her hands, calling forth the sand around her, weaving it into something tangible that could shield them from the scouts' advance. "Everyone, stay alert and watch for openings. We'll make our stand together," she encouraged, channeling her energy into the swirling sand, her focus sharpening. With each twist and turn, she felt a surge of confidence, bolstered by her previous training, now ready to implement her skills in this vital moment. As tension mounted, Lise focused on creating a sturdy barrier, her hands moving with precision and intent as the sand surged around her. The rival scouts grew closer, shouts echoing as they rallied for an attack, forcing Lise to concentrate even harder on her task at hand. Surrounding her, team members supported her efforts, quickly forming a defensive line while keeping an eye on the advancing threat. "Stay sharp," Kale shouted, readying his weapon while keeping watch over the perimeter. Lise noticed Nira assisting her, maneuvering to help reinforce the sand barrier as it took shape, their combined powers melding into one effective defense. Feeling the powerful energy of teamwork surge through her, Lise knew that their unity was their greatest strength as they prepared to confront the impending battle. As the first wave of rival scouts charged at them, Lise felt a surge of adrenaline heighten her focus. "Now!" she shouted, signaling her team to hold the line, their positions fortified behind the sand barrier she had constructed. The creatures lunged forward, but the barrier held firm, deflecting their initial attack and giving her team a moment to breathe. "Push back and reinforce your positions," Kale yelled, his courage evident as he stepped forward to engage the closest foes, striking with calculated precision. Lise matched his energy, weaving more sand into the defensive barrier to create a larger shield as she directed her teammates to work in tandem. The air crackled with intensity, and as enemy forces surged forward, she realized that their earlier training had prepared them for this moment. They were ready to stand and fight together. Lisa's focus sharpened as she observed her team working together seamlessly, their confidence building with each successful repulsion of the enemy's attacks. Kale's fierce determination fueled the group, and each successful strategy strengthened their bond, breeding trust among them. With every strike they delivered and enemy they repelled, the sense of urgency shifted, morphing into a collective momentum that surged among her allies. Amidst the chaos, Lise turned to see Jarek pulling back slightly, uncertainty clouding his expression as he doubted the effectiveness of their efforts. "Jarek, stay with us. We need your strength in this fight," she called out, grounding her voice with an urgency that demanded his focus. Feeling the weight of her leadership, She realized that her ability to inspire and unify the team was just as crucial as their tactical skills in this decisive moment. As the battle raged on, Lise felt her resolve strengthen, her instincts guiding her as she adapted her strategy on the fly. She watched as the rival scouts began to shift their approach, attempting to flank them and create chaos in their ranks. Kale, cover the left side. Nira, help reinforce the barrier, she commanded, her voice ringing clear through the noise of the conflict. Taking a moment to assess the scene, she saw the urgency flashing in her team's eyes, each member responding to her direction with grit and determination. Stay responsive. If you see an opening, use it, she urged, her heart pounding in rhythm with the escalating fight around them. This moment crystallized her growth. She was no longer just a participant in the chaos. She was a leader orchestrating a united effort to overcome the odds. Chapter 17, The Ties That Bind. After the intensity of the confrontation faded, Lise gathered her team in the remnants of the battlefield to discuss their next steps. The sense of urgency still lingered in the air, but now they faced a different kind of challenge, navigating the aftermath of their encounter. Lise felt a mix of pride and concern. They had survived, but at a cost, and she sensed that unresolved feelings still hung heavily over the group. Let's take a moment to evaluate what just happened. She began, her voice steady, aiming to foster an atmosphere of open discussion among her team. Did we communicate effectively? Were there moments we could have acted differently? She asked, inviting everyone to share their thoughts. Jarek crossed his arms, his expression still a mix of uncertainty and frustration, capturing the lingering doubt that threatened to divide them. Kale was the first to speak, tension still evident in his voice. I think we could have done better coordinating our attacks. It felt chaotic at times, and I worried someone would get hurt, he admitted, glancing around at the group, hoping for agreement. Lise nodded, acknowledging his point. I understand. It's something we need to improve. Communication needs to be sharper for our plans to be effective. The team murmured in agreement, reflecting on the urgency of their encounter. As the discussion unfolded, Jarek interjected, but we also need to trust in our instincts. There were moments where fear clouded our judgment. Lise turned to him, sensing that his frustrations ran deeper than just tactics. You're right. We can't let fear dictate our actions. We must learn to balance caution with decisiveness. This moment of reflection revealed conflicting thoughts, but it also provided an opportunity for Lise to foster unity and trust as they moved forward. Lise moved closer to Jarek, wanting to bridge the gap that had formed during their discussions. Look, I know this is tough for everybody, she began, her tone empathetic, but our experiences make us stronger as a team. We have to trust each other. He hesitated, searching her face for sincerity, the conflict of his feelings swirling within him. We need to find a way to work through these fears, Jarek. It's not about being reckless. It's about knowing we can depend on one another, she encouraged, hoping to inspire a shift in his perspective. Jarek looked down, contemplating her words, and slowly nodded. I want to trust. I just don't want to see anyone hurt because of a mistake, he admitted, revealing the vulnerability that lay beneath his hardened exterior. This moment of honesty opened the door for growth, showing that even amidst dissent, there was the potential for understanding and collaboration. Feeling a wave of understanding, Lise sought to reinforce the bond among the team. Every great journey comes with its risks and learning curves. What we face today is part of our growth, she stated, her voice steady yet encouraging. The others listened closely, sensing the sincerity in her message. Let's learn from what happened and grow together. We can take these experiences and figure out how to handle future challenges with more confidence, she continued, her determination shining through. Kale chimed in. We all have each other's backs. Next time, we'll be more prepared and trust our instincts. This moment of solidarity reignited the collective spirit of the group, reminding them that their journey was not just about individual strengths, but about growing in unity. Lise took a deep breath, feeling the energy in the room shift as her words resonated with her team. As they prepared to move forward, she reflected on the importance of adapting to their circumstances, recognizing how vital this lesson was for all of them. Let's focus on what we can control, she suggested, her voice unwavering. We'll take the lessons learned and apply them to make sure we don't repeat past mistakes. Together. The team responded with nods, their expressions signaling agreement as they felt connected through shared purpose and understanding. Before we head out, let's double-check everything. Supplies, routes, even our plans, she instructed, taking charge of the preparations. Lise noticed how the group rallied around her decisiveness, reinforcing their trust in her leadership as they began efficiently organizing their resources and refining their strategy. As they finalized their preparations, Lise felt a surge of confidence, recognizing how far the team had come since first embarking on their journey. She glanced around, taking in the determined expressions on her comrades' faces, knowing they were all invested in the mission ahead. "Everyone, let's form a quick huddle," she called out, drawing the team closer together in a tight circle. "We're not just facing the outside threats. We're also working to strengthen our bond as a team. Support one another and trust each other," she emphasized, her voice strong and clear. Her team nodded in agreement, feeling the weight of camaraderie tighten among them as they embraced the shared commitment to their cause. With a final rallying cheer, they readied themselves to face whatever awaited them, buoyed by the trust they had fostered in one another along the way. Chapter 18, The Moment of Decision. In the stillness before dawn, Lise stood at the edge of their camp, a mixture of determination and apprehension swirling within her as she prepared for the confrontation ahead. The darkness wrapped around her like a shroud, the air heavy with expectation and the promise of challenges that lay before them. She took a moment to center herself, reflecting on the journey that had brought her to this pivotal moment, where she would have to confront not only the rival faction but also the fears that lived within her. Summoning her resolve, she turned to her team, who were gathering their things and preparing for the impending encounter. "Today, we solidify our commitment to each other and our mission," she declared, her voice steady and firm, meant to bolster their spirits. With her heart steadying, she stepped forward into the growing light, ready to lead her team toward their destiny. Moving into the heart of the forest, Lise led her team with a sense of urgency pulsing in her veins, each step echoing the weight of their mission. The path was narrow, and the trees loomed overhead, casting shadows that seemed to shift as they proceeded, a reminder of the challenges that lay ahead. She gathered her thoughts, reviewing the strategy they had developed, while also keeping an eye on her team's readiness. When they reached the edge of the rival camp, she signaled for silence, urging everyone to take a moment to prepare mentally for what was to come. "Remember our plan. We approach this with strength and unity," she whispered, her voice low but confident, instilling a sense of purpose in the group. Around her, members exchanged glances, steeling themselves as they leaned into the resolve that had been built through shared trials and teamwork. As they crept closer to the camp, Lise could hear the sounds of voices, rival factions bustling about, preparing for the day. She felt the familiar knot of anxiety tighten in her stomach, but focused on the task at hand, reminding herself of why they had come. "Stay behind me, but remain alert. We'll get the information we need," she instructed, her tone firm yet calming as she felt the weight of leadership heavy on her shoulders. Cale moved beside her, his expression determined, ready to back her up as they approached the outer perimeter of the gathering. "Keep your eyes open for any signs of movement," he whispered, the tension of impending confrontation evident in his stance. Lise nodded, channeling her focus and pushing forward, resolute and ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Lise spotted a group of rival leaders gathered around a fire, their voices low but tinged with urgency as they discussed their plans. Feeling the moment was right, she motioned for her team to stay put as she strained to listen, eager to gather vital information. "Take the next shipment before they realize what's happening," one of the leaders stated, their words sending a chill through her. Lise exchanged a glance with Cale, who nodded slightly, understanding the importance of what they were overhearing. Realizing the opportunity before her, she whispered, "We can't let them execute that plan. We need to act before they can mobilize." With a quick nod from Cale, they prepared to communicate the information back to their team, the urgency of the situation sharpening their resolve. Lys took a deep breath, knowing that this was the moment to assert leadership and rally her team for action. Kale, let's create a diversion to disrupt their plans while I weave a barrier to protect us, she quickly instructed, her mind racing with strategy. Kale grinned, responding with palpable excitement. I'll create a distraction to draw their attention away while you shape the sand. Together, they moved into position, Lys feeling adrenaline surge as she formed a stunning display of sand that shimmered and glimmered in the sunlight, designed to catch the eye. With a swift signal, Kale hurled a rock into the clearing, the sound echoing and drawing the attention of the rival leaders. The momentary chaos that erupted offered Lys the perfect opportunity to solidify their protective formation and prepare to counter any retaliation that might come their way. As the rival leaders scrambled to investigate the distraction, Lys seized the moment to strengthen her barrier, weaving the sand into a protective wall with renewed urgency. Stay close and be ready to move if things go south, she shouted to her team, her eyes fixed on the growing chaos in the rival camp. The air buzzed with tension, but she felt a sense of clarity and purpose drive her actions as she directed her teammates into position. Kale, keep their attention on the distraction. We'll need that time, she yelled, her own focus unwavering despite the flurry of movement around them. The team executed their roles seamlessly, demonstrating their trust in her leadership as they readied themselves for the next move. With every second passing and the adrenaline pumping through her veins, Lys understood that this confrontation was not just a test of strength, but also of their unity and resolve in the face of adversity. Chapter 19, The Fight for Survival. With tension crackling in the air, Lys felt the surge of adrenaline as the confrontation with the rival faction unfolded. The rival leaders, momentarily caught off guard, quickly regained their composure, rallying their followers for a counterattack. Prepare for anything. They won't back down easily, Lys shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos as her team braced for the oncoming storm. She gripped her charm tightly, calling upon the protective energy she had woven into it, ready to defend her allies. Around her, the team moved with purpose, camaraderie evident as they positioned themselves for the fight ahead. Lys glanced to Kale, who signaled readiness, and felt a flicker of hope. Together, they could turn the tide of this battle if they stayed unified. Lys quickly assessed the advancing rivals, noticing how they regrouped and prepared to charge at her team with renewed fervor. Kale, you take the left flank. We need to spread them out, she commanded, her voice sharp and confident as she implemented their strategy. The team moved as one, quickly adjusting to the developing combat dynamics, while she focused on creating a solid barrier from the sand, hoping to fortify their defenses against the incoming assault. As she directed the sand into shape, Kale rallied a few others to provide cover fire, hurling projectiles at the approaching rival scouts to keep them at bay. The air filled with shouts and the clash of weapons, the intensity of the moment electrifying as Lys wove her barrier tighter, channeling every ounce of her strength and focus. Feelings of determination surged through her as she realized how far she had come, empowered by the lessons learned from every obstacle faced along her journey. As the rival scouts charged, Lys felt the adrenaline surge through her, a blend of urgency and determination propelling her forward. Focus on the weak points, she shouted, directing her team to exploit gaps in the enemy's formation. Kale, positioned on the left flank, led the charge, supporting Lys's defense with quick strikes that kept the scouts off balance. In the chaos, she noticed Jarek taking a defensive stance, but he hesitated, fear creeping back into his demeanor as rival scouts approached. Jarek, don't hold back. We need everyone to commit, Lys called, her voice cutting through the din of battle, pushing him to overcome his doubts. With her encouragement, he rallied, stepping into the fray alongside her, the moment solidifying the trust they had built during their journey. Lys quickly adjusted her tactics as the rival factions pressed closer, recognizing that their strategy needed to evolve in the heat of battle. The sand barrier faltered under sudden, focused attacks, prompting her to reinforce it while also directing their movements to create space. Team, we make a stand here. Form a tighter circle and focus on our strengths, she shouted, instilling them with urgency and clarity amidst the fray. Kale and Jarek seized her direction, pushing back against the enemy with renewed determination while the rest of the team rallied beside them. With each wave of attack, Lise felt her leadership tested, her heart steadying as she empowered her allies to trust in their training and adapt to the dynamic situation. "Remember, our unity is our greatest defense," she reminded them, and as they worked together, she witnessed the strength of their bond flourish in the heat of conflict. The battle intensified, the clash of weapons resonating amid shouts and cries as the rival scouts pressured Lys and her team. Feeling the pulse of adrenaline, Lys pressed her focus into fortifying the sand barrier while coordinating their strikes against the incoming attackers. "Jarek, use your height, draw their attention while we flank them," she commanded, recognizing his ability to leverage his position against their foes. With a determined nod, Jarek executed the plan, moving to a higher vantage point where he could oversee the battlefield, bringing clarity amidst the chaos. As he called out warnings about enemy movements, his confidence soared, a reflection of Lisa's belief in him and a transformation of his earlier doubts. Lise marveled at how their teamwork was evolving, each successful maneuver reinforcing their bond, proving that their unity was their strongest weapon against any conflict. With the tide of battle slowly turning in their favor, Lise felt a surge of hope wash over her. The rival scouts, caught off balance by their coordinated efforts, began to falter, confusion spreading among their ranks. "Keep pushing. Don't allow them to regroup," she shouted, maintaining the momentum as her team advanced. Kale skillfully redirected attention, using distraction to draw rivals into traps set by their vigilant allies, proving that their earlier teamwork had laid the groundwork for their success. Lise took a moment to survey her team, each member now actively contributing their skills in the heat of the moment, their earlier fears dissipating in the face of collaboration. Her heart swelled with pride as she directed them into a final push, confident that their unity had transformed the tides of battle, setting the stage for their victory. Chapter 20. The Strategies of Unity. Lise stood amidst the aftermath of the battle, her heart still pounding as she surveyed the area for any remaining signs of danger. The team had successfully dispersed the rival scouts, but the consequences of the confrontation weighed heavily on her mind. Taking a moment to breathe, she pulled out the map from her satchel, tracing their path and marking the key locations where they had encountered challenges. "Let's take stock of what we've achieved," she stated, gathering her team's attention, ready to assess both their successes and the areas needing improvement. As faces turned toward her, she felt the collective focus draw in, understanding the importance of reflection in their journey. "Every experience brings us closer to our goals. We can't forget the lessons learned today," she continued, hoping to inspire them to embrace both victories and setbacks as crucial parts of their growth. Lise moved through the gathering, checking in with her team as they assessed their supplies, ensuring everyone knew the importance of contributing to the evaluation. As they listed what resources were left and what they still needed, she felt the urgency of their previous confrontations weighing on their shoulders. "Let's be thorough. Focus on what's essential for the next steps," she encouraged, her tone steady as she maintained their motivation amidst the anxiety surrounding the mission. One of the younger members hesitated, holding back, a frown of worry creasing their brow. "What if we don't have enough to move forward? What if we encounter more rivals?" they questioned, their voice trembling slightly. Lise stepped closer, empathizing with their fears while reassuring them with a firm nod. "We will always adapt. It's part of what we've been preparing for. Let's use every bit of knowledge we've gained to navigate this." As the team continued to assess their resources, Kale stepped forward, holding up a pouch filled with useful herbs he had gathered during their last excursion. "This should help," he said, his expression resolute as he added his contributions to the stockpile. Lys noticed his willingness to share and felt gratitude swell within her, appreciating how everyone was contributing to strengthen their efforts. However, Jarek looked at the pouch skeptically, crossing his arms. "Do those really make a difference? We need more than just herbs. We need actual weapons or real protection." Lys sensed the tension rising again but kept her voice calm. Every little bit counts, Jarek. We can't underestimate what knowledge and resources can do in the right hands. While some team members nodded in agreement, Jarek's lingering doubts became palpable, leaving a noticeable fracture in the group's morale. Les took a deep breath, determined to bridge the divide and reinforce their unity as they prepared for the challenges ahead. Les looked around at her team, feeling the weight of Jarek's skepticism hanging in the air. "Let's not forget what we've accomplished so far," she began, her tone steady as she sought to shift the focus back to their progress. "Remember the healing salves we made? They saved us during the last conflict. Every resource we gather, no matter how small, plays a part in our overall strategy," she continued, signaling the importance of every contribution. Kale chimed in. "Liz is right. The herbs strengthen our defenses and help us survive the next encounter. We need to think of everything as part of our arsenal." The team members nodded, but Jarek remained unconvinced, still exuding tension as he muttered, "And what about our weapons?" Lise felt a pang of frustration, knowing she needed to keep the group focused. "Let's prioritize gathering what we need. Every decision we make now can lead to our success later," she asserted, aiming to cultivate optimism. This moment underscored her evolving leadership skills as she worked to manage not just resources, but also the emotional landscape of her team. With the conversation shifting, Lise focused on the task at hand, rallying her team to gather their supplies in an organized manner. "Let's divide our resources. Jarek and I will scout for anything more substantial, while the rest of you prepare the materials we've collected so far," she instructed, assessing their strengths as she delegated tasks. The team dispersed, feeling a sense of purpose return to the group. As they moved along, she caught a glimpse of Kale sharing a laugh with a younger member, infusing a lightheartedness into the atmosphere, which helped ease the tension. Yet, Yarek's earlier doubts lingered in the back of her mind. "Keep communicating and working together. If anything feels off, let's regroup," she reminded everyone, emphasizing the importance of teamwork. Lise felt a surge of confidence as they worked, knowing the adjustments they made would not only help them now, but also set the stage for future challenges. As the team gathered their resources and prepared for their next steps, Lise felt a renewed sense of cohesion among the group. She watched as the younger members exchanged ideas, their confidence growing as they contributed their thoughts to the planning process. "Let's make sure we have a clear route mapped out before we set off," she said, pulling out the map to review their strategy one final time. Kale approached her, a determined glint in his eye. "I'm ready for whatever comes next. We're not just surviving, we're thriving," he declared, his enthusiasm infectious. Liz smiled, appreciating the support from her team, feeling their trust bolster her own confidence. With a sense of purpose, she nodded, ready to lead them into the unknown, knowing that the changes they had implemented would guide their efforts toward success. Chapter 21, The Choice of Sacrifice. As dawn broke, Lise awoke to the sounds of the forest coming alive around her, a chorus of chirps and rustles that filled the crisp morning air. She sat up, stretching and glancing at her team, who were still wrapped in their blankets, each lost in their dreams. The sense of purpose from the previous day lingered, but as she prepared to rise and start their day, a wave of doubt washed over her. What if their collective efforts weren't enough? What if their next mission brought dangers they weren't prepared for? Shaking the thoughts away, she stood tall, determined to focus on the tasks ahead. Lise moved quietly, gathering her belongings and mentally reviewing their supplies and strategies, ready to embrace whatever came next with renewed resolve. Lise stepped outside, taking a deep breath of the fresh morning air, allowing it to fill her lungs and clear her mind. She scanned the surroundings, noticing the dew glistening on leaves and the way the early sunlight danced through the trees, inspiring a sense of optimism. Determined to address any lingering doubts within her team, she called everyone together in the clearing where they had set up camp. "Today is crucial for our progress," she began, her voice steady as she laid out their goals for the day. "We need to gather more resources and assess our route to the rival faction's territory. We can't let fear hold us back," she encouraged, watching her teammates nod and murmur in agreement. Her clarity of purpose seemed to energize the group, each member showing increased resolve as they focused on the task at hand. As Les outlined the plan, Jarek spoke up, his voice tinged with apprehension. Are we sure we should be pushing forward so aggressively? What if we end up provoking the rival faction further? He challenged, crossing his arms defensively. Les turned to him, understanding the roots of his concerns as they stood amidst the rising tension. I get where you're coming from, Jarek, but we need to be proactive instead of reactive, she replied, her tone firm yet empathetic. The longer we wait, the greater the risk. We need to gather strength for our next move, not let fear take over, she reaffirmed, feeling the weight of the group's trust in her words. Kale nodded in agreement, stepping in to support her. Sometimes we have to push boundaries to protect what's important. Let's not lose sight of that. The exchange highlighted the complexities of their dynamics, but also the foundation of trust that had formed within the group. With Jarek's concerns lingering in the air, Liz took a deep breath, knowing she needed to address the fears head-on. We have faced dangers before and come out stronger. I won't let doubt overshadow our purpose, she asserted, her eyes scanning the group for support. Each of us has proven our strength. We must lean on that as we move forward, she continued, her voice steady, trying to anchor herself and her teammates. Let's not forget the more we know about our enemy, the better we can prepare ourselves. This is about survival and about protecting each other, she emphasized, making her case with conviction. The atmosphere began to shift as her words resonated, with some team members looking more determined, while others still wrestled with hesitation. Lise could see that her confidence was beginning to influence their perspectives, fostering a growing commitment to the mission that lay ahead. With renewed determination, Lise organized the group for their next move, dividing tasks to ensure everyone had a role in the preparations. Kale, you gather information from the villagers about any recent sightings of the rival faction. Jarek, I need you to scout the area ahead for signs of their movements, she instructed, her voice resonating with authority. The team quickly responded, feeling energized by her confidence, but her heart raced with the weight of their expectations. Let's stick together and remember to communicate every detail you find. Every piece of information is crucial, she added, emphasizing the need for vigilance. As they spread out, Lise took a moment to reflect on how much she had learned. Despite the challenges ahead, she felt a deeper connection to her role, understanding that this was not just about the mission. It was about harnessing the strength and trust within her team. As the team began to set their plans into motion, Lise felt a mixture of excitement and anxiety swell within her. She moved from group to group, offering guidance and encouragement, reminding them of their collective strengths. Kale returned from his inquiries, full of information regarding the rival faction's recent movements, and shared the details with palpable enthusiasm. This could give us just the edge we need, he said, eyes bright with hope as he outlined their potential routes. Liz felt a surge of confidence as the updates fortified their plans, showing the impact of their preparations and collaboration. Let's use this information to adapt our strategy, she said decisively, her resolve solidifying as she recognized that their commitment to unity would pave the way for success. Chapter 22, The Turning Tide. The dawn broke with an unsettling stillness, and as Lise and her team navigated the familiar paths back through the forest, a sense of dread began to creep in. Just ahead, they discovered signs of struggle, broken branches and crushed foliage that sent a chill down her spine. All at once, the realization hit her hard. They were marching into a trap set by the rival faction, a calculated ambush waiting to ensnare them. Everyone, stop, she commanded, raising her hand, her heart pounding as she struggled to contain her growing anxiety. Look around. We're not alone. This isn't safe, she noted, the weight of her decision pressing heavily on her as she assessed the situation. The team froze, tension palpable as they processed her warning, the balance between their earlier confidence and the danger now tangible in the air. Heart racing, Liz scanned the forest for any signs of movement, her instincts screaming that danger was imminent. Stay close and quiet. We need to move out of this area before they realize we're here, she instructed, her voice barely a whisper as anxiety pooled in her stomach. The team quickly gathered together, eyes darting nervously around their surroundings as they weighed their options. "You think we should retreat?" one team member suggested, fear etched on their face, reflecting the uncertainty that had begun to settle in. "No, we can't let them dictate our actions," Lise replied firmly, fighting against the panic that threatened to overtake her. "We need to find an alternate route to our destination." She felt the weight of leadership pressing down on her, knowing that her decisions could mean the difference between safety and disaster. The group hesitated, debating between retreating to safety or pressing forward despite the danger lurking nearby. Lise felt the tension in the air, and she could sense the weight of expectation from her teammates as they looked to her for direction. "Jarek, what do you think we should do?" she asked, recognizing the importance of involving him in the decision, hoping to ease his earlier frustrations. Jarek furrowed his brow, weighing the options as he considered the risks. "If we head back, we risk losing the advantage we just gained. But if we push ahead and get caught..." He left the thought hanging, uncertainty painting his expression. Lise took a deep breath, understanding the stakes. "We'll have to be smart about it. If we can quiet our movements and remain aware of any traps, we can continue our mission." Her voice held a thread of conviction that aimed to rally the group, knowing that their confidence rested in their collective trust and preparation. With the decision made, Lise quickly formulated a plan to maneuver through the forest while keeping her team safe. "Let's split into 2 groups. We'll be able to scout and create distractions if needed," she proposed, her mind racing with strategy as she assessed their strengths. Kale and another team member nodded, eager to follow her lead, while Jarek hesitated again, still grappling with doubts. "Are you sure splitting up is wise? We could lose track of each other," he pointed out, concern faintly lacing his voice. Lise met his gaze, her determination unwavering. "We'll establish checkpoints for communication. I promise we won't lose our way. We need to be adaptable, and this is our best chance." Her words hung in the air, and slowly the group began to see the merit in her approach, the initial tension easing as they accepted the plan. With their plan set, Lise took a moment to assign roles, focusing on ensuring everyone's strengths were utilized effectively. "Kale, you take the lead on the left flank. Jarek, stay close to him and watch for signs of the enemy," she instructed, feeling the weight of her leadership in each word. As the team moved into position, she noticed Jarek still wrestling with his uncertainty, his brow furrowed. "Keep your mind focused on the task at hand, and we'll overcome this challenge together," she encouraged him, determined to instill confidence. Jarek nodded, visibly making an effort to trust in the plan as they slipped into their respective groups. Lise felt a surge of responsibility, knowing that her ability to adapt and support her team would be crucial in navigating the risks that lay ahead. As Lise positioned herself at the edge of the forest, she felt the cool breeze brush against her cheeks, mingling with the anxiety coursing through her. She glanced back at her team, checking that everyone was in place, a sense of urgency turning her focus inward as she prepared to execute their plan. Rallying herself, she took a deep breath and whispered, "No matter what happens, we stick together and adapt. We can do this." Moving with purpose, she stepped deeper into the trees, leading her group down a narrow path that twisted into shadows. To her right, she heard Kale and Jarek quietly communicating, their earlier doubts seemingly lifted as they fell into their roles. With each step, she embraced the confidence they had built together, reminding herself that this moment would define not just their mission, but also their bonds as allies. Chapter 23, The Web of Connections. As dawn broke over the horizon, Lise gathered her team in a familiar clearing, a mix of excitement and anxiety buzzing in the air as they prepared for the next phase of their mission. The sunlight filtered through the trees, illuminating their faces as she sensed the adrenaline rising within them, a reminder of the importance of what lay ahead. "Today, we meet with the forest dwellers to solidify our alliance," Lise stated, her voice steady, aiming to instill confidence among her team. She glanced at the items they planned to offer as tokens of goodwill, knowing that goodwill would be essential in forging trust. The atmosphere crackled with anticipation as each member checked their gear and briefed one another on their thoughts for the meeting ahead. Liz felt a surge of resolve. This was a pivotal moment, one that could drastically alter the course of their campaign against the rival faction. Les led the way through the forest, her heart racing with both excitement and apprehension as they drew closer to the meeting point with the forest dwellers. The path was familiar, yet filled with new significance, each step carrying the weight of their mission and the potential for cooperation. As they approached a small clearing marked by ancient stones, she signaled for her team to halt, wanting to ensure they were prepared emotionally and strategically. Let's remember why we're here. This is about building a partnership that can benefit us all, she reminded everyone, casting a determined glance at each face in the group. Cale leaned in, his voice low. Do you really think they'll trust us after everything? We need to prove we're different. Liz nodded, understanding the stakes at play. We'll show them our values, our intentions. Let's be open and honest about our needs. This collaborative mindset served as a foundation for their discussions, reinforcing the importance of unity as they prepared to step into the clearing and meet their potential allies. Liz stepped into the clearing, her eyes scanning the area for the familiar faces of the forest dwellers, a mixture of anticipation and trepidation swirling within her. The moment she entered, the forest dwellers paused their activities, their expressions shifting to curiosity as they noticed the group approaching. Thank you for meeting with us, Liz began, her voice clear and respectful, hoping to convey their sincerity in wanting to forge an alliance. However, some of the forest dwellers exchanged wary glances, clearly uncertain of the newcomers' intentions. After the disturbances, why should we trust you? One of the elders spoke up, skepticism evident as they assessed the group. This moment of hesitation communicated the hesitance of the forest dwellers, and Lise realized they had to prove their devotion to the new relationship if they wanted it to flourish. Lise took a step forward, feeling the weight of the moment push her to be vulnerable yet strong. We understand your hesitations, and I respect your concerns, she said earnestly, meeting the elder's gaze with sincerity. We come not to impose, but to seek a partnership that will benefit both our communities. We believe that together we can create a safer environment for everyone. She paused, her heart pounding as she prepared to convey the heart of their mission. Each of us carries knowledge and experience that can help strengthen our positions. We wish to protect the forest as much as you do, she continued, hoping to resonate with the values of the forest dwellers. The elder's expression softened slightly, the skepticism still present but mingling with curiosity as they considered her words, indicating the potential for a deeper connection. The air hung thick with anticipation as the elder considered Les's words, a murmur of conversation rippling through the gathered forest dwellers. One of the younger members of the group stepped forward, a look of contemplation on their face. I want to believe that we can work together, they voiced, a hint of hope emerging through the uncertainty. Liz sensed that the group was beginning to lean toward understanding, but the elder raised a hand, signaling for calm. Prove that your intentions are genuine. Actions speak louder than words, the elder said firmly, establishing the conditions of trust. Lise nodded, feeling the challenge resonate within her. This was not just about promises, but about demonstrating commitment through collaborative efforts. Lise felt a sense of determination blossom within her as she contemplated how to prove their commitment. Let us demonstrate our skills right here and now. We can show you how we protect and heal, she suggested, her eyes bright with conviction. The elder regarded her with interest, a flicker of approval passing through their gaze as the atmosphere in the clearing shifted. Very well, the elder replied, nodding slowly. If you are willing to prove your intentions, we will observe. Lise turned to her team, quickly gathering their focus. Let's combine our abilities. Together, we can create a charm that showcases both our skills and our commitment to the forest. The team exchanged excited glances, ready to act, feeling the energy shift as they prepared to forge a tangible representation of their alliance. Chapter 24, The Unraveling Truth. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the forest, Liz gathered her team for a crucial conversation about their next steps. They stood at the edge of a clearing, the atmosphere charged with anticipation and the weight of their recent victories. Now that we've built an alliance and strengthened our defenses, it's time to focus on our main goal, she announced, her voice steady and commanding, drawing everyone's attention. Liz could feel the energy shift among her team as the reality of what lay ahead settled upon them. Today, we move to confront our rivals once and for all, she continued, feeling the gravity of her words as she laid out her vision for how they would approach the upcoming conflict. The team exchanged glances, anticipation mingling with apprehension as they prepared to face their greatest challenge yet. With her heart steadying, Lise began to delegate specific tasks to each member of her team, ensuring everyone had an active role in the upcoming confrontation. Kale, you're on point. Scout ahead and gauge their numbers. We need to know what we're up against, she instructed, appreciating his quick instincts. He nodded with determination, eager to take the lead as he moved to gather a small group for reconnaissance. Jarek and the others will hold the perimeter, ready to engage if anything goes wrong, she continued, noting the importance of positioning in their strategy. As they prepared, the atmosphere thickened with urgency, and Lise felt the anticipation feeding her adrenaline. Remember, we've trained for this. Focus on our strengths and adapt as we go, she reminded them, her confidence bridging the gap between fear and excitement. This moment solidified her transformation into a capable leader, ready to navigate the complexities of the mission ahead. As the team settled into their roles, the tension began to grow, breaths held as they prepared for the confrontation that loomed ahead. Lise quickly glanced around, noticing Kale's group moving with purpose, while others fidgeted with uncertainty, casting nervous glances at each other. Don't let fear take hold, she urged, her voice cutting through the unease. Remember why we're doing this. Just then, Jarek approached her, concern etched across his features. What if we're walking into a trap? What if they're expecting us? He questioned, anxiety in his eyes revealing his discomfort with the plan. Lys felt the weight of his doubts, but reacted with calm assurance. We've prepared for every possibility, and will adapt on the fly. Trust in our training and each other. Her confidence ignited a flicker of bravery among the team, pushing them to solidify their focus as they readied themselves to face the unfolding challenge. Les felt the knot of tension in the air as they approached the rival faction's encampment, the once faint sounds of activity becoming clearer with each step. She exchanged determined glances with Kale, knowing that their success hinged on the quick execution of their plan. Stay sharp and be ready for anything. We stick to the strategy we discussed, she reminded the group, urging unity as they neared the edge of the clearing. Just then, a loud shout pierced the air from the rival camp, igniting a flurry of movement as scouts mobilized, clearly aware of an impending threat. Go, 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 Lee shouted, adrenaline surging as the atmosphere shifted from calculated stealth to chaotic confrontation in an instant. With her heart pounding, she led the charge, weaving together sand and determination as the battle was upon them, now or never. As the team surged into battle, chaos erupted around them, the clash of metal and the shouts of combatants filling the air. Lys felt the weight of command settle over her, her instincts guiding her as she began coordinating movements among her team amidst the fray. Kale, flank right, cut off their reinforcements, she shouted, recognizing the need for decisive action in the midst of uncertainty. Her voice resonated above the din, and she could see Kale immediately responding, taking charge with a sense of urgency that reaffirmed her trust in him. As Lise wove her sand defenses to shield her teammates and create opportunities for offensive strikes, she felt the energy of the moment propel her forward, every decision reflecting her growth as a leader. In the heat of battle, she noticed Jarek rallying behind her, finally embracing his role, and the sight filled her with hope as they fought together, united in purpose. As the battle raged on, Lise felt the adrenaline coursing through her, each moment demanding quick thinking and decisiveness. She saw an opening as rival scouts began to retreat, their formations breaking under the pressure they were applying. Now's our chance. Don't let up. Advance, she shouted, her voice carrying the urgency of the moment as she encouraged her team to seize the opportunity. The momentum shifted and her team surged forward, embodying the tactics they had practiced, trust solidified in their movements. Lise pushed her energy towards the sand, creating a protective wall to shield her teammates as they pressed into the rival camp, feeling empowered by their unity. With every successful maneuver, her confidence deepened, reinforcing her belief that they could achieve their goals together, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Chapter 25, The Strength of Bonds. With the battle finally behind them, Les gathered her team in a clearing, a sense of urgency swirling in the air as they prepared to strategize for what lay ahead. She pulled out a map, spreading it on the ground while the team circled around, eager to discuss their next moves. Today, we need to solidify our defenses and gather any remaining resources, she stated, her voice steady, determined to maintain their focus and sense of purpose. Lise felt the gravity of the situation pressing on her, knowing they needed a thorough plan to ensure their continued safety. With our last encounter fresh in our minds, let's evaluate what worked and what needs adjusting, she proposed, engaging her team in a discussion about their experiences. Her confidence resonated. As each member contributed their thoughts, they began to cultivate a clear sense of direction as a cohesive unit. Lise began to assign specific tasks, clearly delineating responsibilities to ensure everyone was engaged and knew their role in the preparations. Kale, I want you to coordinate with the forest dwellers about securing additional allies. Reach out and see who might be willing to assist us, she instructed, appreciating his rapport with the locals. Jarek, gather intel on any recent activities or changes from our scouts, and we need to be on top of the moves the rival faction is making, she continued, recognizing Jarek's willingness to step up. As she detailed the tasks, she noticed the mix of determination and enthusiasm in her team, each member eager to contribute their skills. Let's reconvene in a couple of hours to share what we've gathered and adjust our approach as needed, she added, instilling a sense of purpose. The team dispersed, and Lise felt a burst of pride, aware that their unity and collaboration would be the core of their success moving forward. As the group began to scatter, Kale approached Lise with a thoughtful expression, a hint of concern knitting his brow. Are you sure we can trust the forest dwellers? What if they decide to turn against us when we least expect it? He questioned, reflecting the skepticism that had often lingered between the factions. Lise paused, considering his words carefully, aware of the underlying fears that could threaten their newfound alliance. I understand your worries, but we have to take risks to build trust. We can't let doubt keep us from forging connections, she replied, her tone steady and reassuring. Jarek stood nearby, listening but still skeptical, folding his arms defiantly. Trust is earned, not just given away. We need to be cautious, he added, emphasizing the need for vigilance. Lise felt the challenge in the air, but maintained her composure, determined to address both their doubts and the potential for unity in their mission. Lise stood firm, feeling the pressure of Kale's and Jarek's concerns weighing heavily on her, as she prepared to address the doubts bubbling to the surface. We have faced challenges before and have learned to rely on each other, she began, looking each member in the eye to reinforce the importance of trust in their mission. The forest dwellers have knowledge that can be vital for our survival. If we don't take this chance, we risk isolating ourselves, she continued, her conviction growing stronger. Jarek shifted, still visibly conflicted, but softened by her earnestness. And if they betray us, what then? He pressed, his protective instincts surfacing once more. Lise sighed, fully aware of the fragility of their situation. We'll handle whatever comes our way together. That's the point of alliance. Strength in numbers and adaptability in response to challenges, she replied confidently. This moment underscored her growth as a leader, showing how her resolve to build relationships shaped her approach and the direction of their mission. With the discussion still simmering, Les felt a wave of determination wash over her as she moved to solidify the team's focus. Let's not get caught up in what-ifs, she urged, her voice firm yet inviting, wanting to steer them toward action rather than indecision. She turned to the map laid out before them, pointing to the areas where they could forge new paths and gather information while also considering potential allies. Each of us has a role to play, and we need to use our strengths to contribute to this mission. That's how we'll ensure our safety and succeed, she explained, reminding them of their collective abilities. Kale looked at her with renewed clarity, appreciating her resolve as he joined in the conversation, offering suggestions on who they might approach for support. As the team engaged, there was a palpable shift in energy. The blend of hope and purpose resonated within them, revealing the power of collaborative effort. As their planning session continued, Liz felt a sense of accomplishment wash over her as ideas began to coalesce into a coherent strategy. The energy in the clearing had transformed from uncertainty into focused determination, each team member contributing thoughts and suggestions with increasing confidence. Let's finalize our approach, making sure we have clear roles established before we reach out to the forest dwellers, she directed, her tone commanding yet encouraging. She reiterated their collective strengths, reminding them of the skills each member possessed, how those would be vital in forging meaningful connections with potential allies. Kale chimed in, recalling specific past encounters. If we present ourselves as allies and demonstrate our commitment to partnership, we can gain their trust. Liz nodded, proud of how far they had come together, knowing that their collaborative spirit was key to navigating the complexities of their mission. Chapter 26, The Test of Loyalty. The atmosphere hung heavy as Liz and her team approached the designated meeting point with the forest dwellers, their earlier confidence shadowed by uncertainty. The clearing, once filled with hope, now felt charged with tension as they prepared to lay their cards on the table. Liz could sense an undercurrent of anxiety among her companions as they drew closer to the gathering of forest dwellers waiting for them. "Are we really ready for this?" one of the younger members whispered, glancing nervously at the formidable group ahead. Liz took a deep breath, steadying her thoughts as she sought clarity amid the swirling doubts. "We've prepared for this moment, and we have to trust in our purpose. This is about building a lasting alliance," she reassured them, her determination shining through as they neared the clearing. Liz stepped into the clearing, her heart racing as she scanned the group of forest dwellers gathered to meet them. The atmosphere was thick with apprehension, the air heavy with unspoken questions and expectations. "Thank you for waiting for us," she began, her voice strong despite the nerves fluttering in her stomach, determined to convey sincerity. The elder of the forest dwellers stepped forward, their expression cautious. "Your intentions must be clear if you wish to earn our trust," they stated, their tone firm and unwavering. Liz felt the weight of their scrutiny and knew she had to rely on the lessons learned during her time in the forest. "I understand the importance of trust, and I assure you we come seeking a partnership for the benefit of both our peoples," she replied, her confidence bolstered by the knowledge she had gained. As Liz laid out their intentions, a younger forest dweller stepped forward, their eyes bright with skepticism. "But how can we trust you? You're outsiders, untested in our ways," they challenged, crossing their arms defiantly and narrowing their gaze. Liz could feel the tension rising among her allies, glancing back at her team, who shared varied expressions of concern. "Trust is built over time, not just promised," Liz acknowledged, feeling the weight of the moment press down. "But we're here to show you our commitment. We'll prove our loyalty through our actions." The elder nodded, but the distrust lingered, weighing heavily on the atmosphere. "If we do not see the truth in your words, we will not hesitate to sever ties," the elder warned, their seriousness marking the gravity of the situation. Liz felt the weight of their doubts settling heavily in the air, but she knew she couldn't let uncertainty undermine their intentions. "Let us demonstrate our commitment," she suggested, her mind racing with possibilities. "We can showcase how our healing arts can benefit the forest and its people," she continued, her voice steady, hoping to inspire confidence. The elder's expression softened slightly, intrigued by the prospect of tangible proof. "Very well, but know that actions speak louder than words," they replied, their eyes studying Liz closely, gauging her sincerity. Liz felt a surge of determination, recognizing that this was an opportunity to truly bridge the gap between their worlds. Where the clearing met the forest edge, Liz positioned her group to begin their demonstration, a sense of urgency propelling her forward. "Kale, Jarek, Gather the herbs and salves we prepared. Let's show them what we can do, she instructed, her focus laser sharp. Her team moved swiftly, gathering the supplies and preparing for the showcase. Excitement mingled with anxiety as they sensed the significance of the moment. Nira joined Liz, her expression determined. If we can prove our worth, it might change how they see us, she stated, reflecting the hope building within the group. Liz nodded, rallying the energy to maintain clarity amid the chaos of preparation. This is our chance to solidify not just our mission, but our new alliance, she said, reinforcing the stakes for everyone involved. As they prepared, Liz felt the weight of how far they had come. This was not just an act of demonstration, but a step toward securing their future together. With the supplies gathered and the atmosphere charged with anticipation, Liz addressed her team one last time before the demonstration. Remember, this isn't just about showing what we can do. It's about building trust and showing our commitment to each other and the forest, she emphasized, her voice strong and clear. She distributed the healing salves among the team, ensuring everyone understood their roles during the presentation. Kale, you'll demonstrate how these remedies work on minor injuries. Nira, you'll assist, sharing the knowledge you've gained, she instructed, watching as they nodded in agreement, ready to act. As they stood poised to begin, a mix of excitement and anxiety coursed through the group. Liz took a steadying breath, feeling the weight of the moment resonate within her, her confidence further strengthened by the knowledge that their growth together had led them to this pivotal opportunity. Chapter 27, The Call to Action. With the demonstration completed successfully, Liz felt a surge of triumph as her team began discussing their next steps. They gathered in a circle, the excitement lingering in the air as they reviewed the impact of their newfound alliance with the forest dwellers. Liz took charge, reminding everyone of the importance of consolidating their resources and adapting their tactics. We need to take this momentum and prepare for every eventuality. Let's brainstorm how we can effectively utilize the allies we've gained, she urged, eager to keep the energy flowing. The team nodded, minds sharpening as they focused on what lay ahead, eager to contribute their ideas and insights to the planning process. In that moment, Liz felt the weight of leadership lift slightly. They were not just following her plans, but actively engaging in shaping their shared destiny. Liz took a moment to assess her team's strengths and the tasks ahead, realizing that effective delegation would be crucial for their continued success. Kale, I want you to coordinate with the forest dwellers about gathering information on the rival factions' movements, she instructed, watching as he straightened with newfound purpose. Jarek, you can help scout around the perimeter for any unexpected threats while we set up communications with our new allies. She continued, ensuring each member felt valued in their contributions. Liz felt empowered as her team sprang into action, their faces reflecting the determination to support one another. Let's also establish a secure way to relay messages back and forth. We can't risk losing touch with our allies, she proposed, feeling the weight of their cooperation solidify her confidence in leading them. As her teammates nodded and began organizing their efforts, she recognized that their ability to adapt and respond collectively would be crucial in their mission. As the team split off to execute their assigned tasks, a sense of urgency filled the air, propelling them forward with a renewed sense of purpose. Liz watched as Kale rallied the forest dwellers, engaging them in conversation about the rival factions' movements, while Jarek headed to the perimeter, his expression focused. Keep a watchful eye, and don't hesitate to regroup if you encounter anything suspicious, she called after him, her voice firm and supportive, echoing the trust she had built with him. In the midst of the chaos of preparations, she felt a small surge of worry for how Jarek would handle the responsibility, but she pushed it aside, trusting in their training. Meanwhile, a few other team members began to gather supplies, moving with purpose as they communicated ideas on how to best aid their divided but united mission. Liz realized that as they pulled together different resources and perspectives, the collaboration was transforming their planning session into a dynamic strategy session that could adapt to whatever lay ahead. As the sun climbed higher, Les organized her team into smaller groups, giving each member clear objectives based on their individual strengths. Let's set a deadline for gathering everything we need by midday. We have to move quickly, she instructed, her voice brimming with urgency. Kale, leading the scouting team, called out for everyone to stick to the plan, ensuring their actions flowed seamlessly. Nearby, Jarrett grouped with a few newer members. His earlier hesitation replaced with determination as he explained how to better navigate the perimeter. Stay sharp and keep your senses open. We don't know what we might encounter, he asserted, now embracing his role in guiding others, showing noticeable growth. Seeing her team working together, Lise felt a renewed sense of pride and confidence, recognizing that their collective efforts were shaping their path forward. As the groups dispersed, Les took a moment to reflect on the urgency of their situation and the importance of each team member's contributions. She made a mental note to check in with everyone, ensuring their safety and progress as they moved toward their goals. Remember to communicate regularly. We need to stay coordinated, she called out, reinforcing the foundations of trust and teamwork they had built. While walking through the gathering area, she caught sight of Kale guiding a few forest dwellers in setting up a secure relay system for messages, showcasing their efforts to bolster communication between teams. Lise approached them, impressed by the initiative he had taken, a warm feeling of gratitude swelling within her. Great job, Kale. This will streamline our operations significantly, she praised, recognizing how his confidence and leadership were developing alongside hers. As midday approached, Lise gathered her teams back in the clearing, eager to assess their collective progress and solidify their next steps. The atmosphere buzzed with energy and anticipation, a palpable change from earlier uncertainty. Let's hear what everyone has found and how we can use that information to strengthen our strategy moving forward, she announced, her voice commanding yet encouraging. Kale shared updates from the forest dwellers, revealing their willingness to assist, which prompted a ripple of excitement among the group. Great work, everyone. This shows what we can achieve by working together, Lise praised, feeling the warmth of camaraderie fill the space. As they discussed next steps, she felt her confidence grow, recognizing that their teamwork and trust in each other were forming a solid foundation for their mission's success. Chapter 28, The Final Confrontation. With the plan finalized, Lise and her team approached the rival stronghold, a sense of anticipation hanging heavy in the air as they prepared for the confrontation ahead. The tension was palpable, each member acutely aware of the stakes involved as the structure loomed before them, fortified but not invincible. Everyone, stay alert and follow the strategy we outlined, she instructed, her voice steady as her heart raced with the mix of fear and excitement. Les reminded them of the importance of teamwork, urging her comrades to lean on their training and the trust they had built in one another. Today, we prove that our unity can overcome even the greatest obstacles, she asserted, her determination infusing the group with renewed confidence. They moved forward, stepping into the shadows of the stronghold, each heartbeat underscoring their commitment to protect not just their mission, but each other. As they crept closer to the stronghold, Lise gestured for her team to take positions near the perimeter where shadows provided cover. She could see rival guards stationed at various points, their eyes scanning the area with an intensity that sent a shiver down her spine. "Keep your heads down and stay silent until I give the signal," she instructed, her voice barely above a whisper as she felt the weight of the moment pressing upon her. The group nodded, adrenaline coursing through them as they prepared to implement their plan. Lise glanced back at Kale, who smiled reassuringly, reminding her of the trust they had built, his confidence infusing her with strength. She took a deep breath, channeling all that they had learned, ready to lead her team into the heart of the stronghold's defenses. As they settled into position, Lise observed the movements of the rival guards, their patterns becoming clearer under the watchful eyes of her team. "We need to create a diversion before making our move," she whispered, formulating a plan while gauging her team's readiness. Pointing to a nearby stack of crates, she instructed one of the younger members, "Can you toss a rock over there to draw their attention?" The young member nodded, adrenaline coursing through them, and took the stone in hand, their focus calibrated on the task ahead. The guards turned, curiosity piqued, and Lise exchanged tense glances with her teammates, all hearts racing as the moment of truth approached. With a quick nod from Lise, the crate was struck, and the guards stepped away, giving them the opening they needed to advance. With the guards distracted, Lise signaled for her team to move quickly and quietly toward the stronghold's entrance. She felt a surge of adrenaline as they approached, the anticipation of what lay ahead heightening her senses. "Stay close and follow my lead," she instructed, her heart pounding with both fear and excitement. As they slipped into the shadows of the entrance, Lise could see the faint outlines of the interior, dimly lit but filled with the promise of answers. She moved cautiously, ready to adapt as needed, her instincts honed from their shared experiences guiding her path. Just as they entered, she noticed a flicker of movement on their left. Another potential guardian stood watch, and Lise felt the tension rise once more as they prepared for whatever might come next. Lise quickly assessed the situation, spotting 2 more guards at the far end of the hallway, their faces lit by flickering torches. "Kale, take the right side and flank them. Nira, you and I will handle the left," she instructed, her voice low but filled with determination. The team moved as one, each member executing their roles with urgency, tension crackling in the air as they inched closer. Kale crept along the wall, his eyes fixed on the guards, ready to intervene if things took a turn for the worse. Just as they positioned themselves, a loud crash echoed from deeper within the stronghold, causing the guards to turn their attention away from Lise and her team. "Now's our chance. Move," she commanded, seizing the opening as she hurried forward, adrenaline fueling her every step. As they pressed forward into the stronghold, Lisa's heart raced with exhilaration and fear, feeling the weight of their mission pressing around them like the walls closing in. She led the way, her team following close behind, each step taken with purpose as they moved deeper into the heart of their enemy's territory. "Stay alert and keep an eye out for any signs of movement," she reminded them, her voice firm, instilling a sense of urgency and focus. They crept through the dimly lit corridors, shadows flickering with each flicker of the torches lining the walls, revealing forgotten relics from battles long past. Suddenly, they rounded a corner and encountered a group of rival scouts, clearly caught off guard, and Lise felt the adrenaline surge as she prepared to defend her team. "Spread out. We need to flank them," she shouted, signaling her team to act quickly, every instinct urging her to leverage their training in this critical moment. Chapter 29, The Cost of Victory. In the aftermath of the confrontation, Lise stood amidst the remnants of the rival camp, her heart heavy as she surveyed the damage and destruction left in the wake of their battle. The lively sounds of the forest had faded, replaced by the uneasy rustling of leaves and the distant calls of startled creatures. She could feel the eyes of her teammates on her, a mix of relief and concern reflected in their expressions as they processed the significance of their victory. "Let's take stock of what we've lost and what we've gained," she called out, her voice steady as she sought to ground herself amid the chaos. As they began to gather resources and check for injuries, a sense of solemnity settled over the group. They had triumphed, but at a cost that lingered like a shadow. Determined to build on their progress, Lise started to organize their findings, knowing that the path ahead required careful planning to ensure safety and unity. As the team divided up their tasks, Lise felt the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders. She personally checked in on the injured, offering soothing words and assessing their needs, determined to ensure the well-being of her comrades. "Let's make sure everyone has what they need to recover. I'll send word to the forest dwellers for additional help if necessary," she assured them, her voice steady, reinforcing that they were not alone in this. Meanwhile, Kale began organizing the gathered supplies, distributing food and bandages, while fostering a sense of shared responsibility among the group. Their collective efforts began to revive spirits, even as the memory of the battle lingered in the air like a thick fog. Les observed the dynamics shifting as they worked together, each member contributing, reinforcing the bonds they had forged through the trials they had faced. As the team worked diligently, Lise noticed that some members were still grappling with the emotional weight of their experience. She caught Jarek staring off into the distance, his expression troubled, and approached him, sensing his need for reassurance. "Are you okay?" she asked gently, her tone warm and inviting, hoping to break through his somber mood. He sighed, shaking his head. "I keep thinking about what happened out there. I should have been more prepared." Lise placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We all faced uncertainty. It's how we move forward that defines us. We need to learn and adapt, just like we've always done." Feeling the tension ease slightly, she encouraged him to join the others, reminding him that each of them had a role to play in the recovery process. This moment of connection reinforced the importance of vulnerability and teamwork, demonstrating how shared experiences could help heal old wounds. Once the initial chaos of assessment had calmed, Lise felt the need to shift the focus toward determination and progress. "Let's regroup and discuss our next steps to ensure this victory leads to lasting change," she said, gathering her team in the center of the clearing. The team listened intently as she began to outline their collective goals, the energy in the air morphing from uncertainty to renewed optimism. "First, we need to solidify our alliance with the forest dwellers. Their knowledge is invaluable," she emphasized, feeling a surge of resolve within her. Kale piped up, "And we should prepare for the possibility of retaliation. We can't let our guard down." Lise nodded in agreement, knowing that maintaining vigilance would be essential in their strategy as they navigated the new challenges that lay ahead. With their next steps laid out, Lise felt a renewed sense of purpose as the group began to discuss how they could prepare for potential retaliation from the rival faction. "Building defenses around the village will be crucial," she stated, pulling out paper and drawing plans for fortifications that could protect them from future threats. The team rallied around her, their eyes lighting up as they began to brainstorm ideas, infusing the preparations with energy and enthusiasm. "You could weave the sand into protective barriers while we gather materials from the forest," one of the younger members suggested, their confidence visibly growing. "Exactly. We can set traps to deter intruders as well," Kale added, feeling inspired by the collaborative spirit. Lise felt pride swell within her, witnessing how their shared experiences and her leadership were beginning to shape the group into a cohesive unit, ready to face anything together. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the camp, Les felt a sense of accomplishment wash over her. The plans for fortifications had taken root, and the team buzzed with excitement as they began implementing their ideas, working through the night with renewed energy. "Let's keep our spirits high. Every bit we do now makes us stronger for whatever challenges we face ahead," she called out, her voice filled with encouragement. In the midst of the preparations, she noticed Jarek actively engaging with the younger members, guiding them in building traps, a marked change from his earlier hesitations. His newfound enthusiasm lifted the morale of the group, reinforcing the bonds they had formed through shared experiences. Feeling the shift in dynamics, Lise understood that their collective growth had transformed their prospects, preparing them for the adventures yet to come. Chapter 30, The Dawn of Unity. As the first light of dawn broke through the trees, Lise stood in the clearing, reflecting on the progress they had made in recent days. The atmosphere felt different now, charged with a sense of purpose and unity that hadn't existed before their recent collaboration. She remembered the lessons learned and the challenges they faced, each moment shaping her into the leader she was becoming. With renewed clarity, she gathered her team to discuss their next steps. "Today, we take action on the knowledge we've gained," she declared, sense of determination coursing through her. "I'll lead the way in reaching out to the forest dwellers again, reinforcing our alliance and sharing our recent developments." The resolve in her voice resonated with her team, their excitement palpable as they anticipated what opportunities lay ahead following their newfound unity. Lise began organizing their supplies, ensuring they were fully equipped for the meeting with the forest dwellers. "Gather everything we might need, herbs, charms, and any materials that could show our commitment to this alliance," she instructed, her tone urgent as she moved through the team. Kale quickly collected items, while others followed her lead, recognizing the importance of presenting themselves as prepared and trustworthy. As they packed, she encouraged discussion about their approach, urging her team to share thoughts on how to best communicate their intentions. Think about what we can offer and how our skills can benefit both our communities, she prompted, wanting to ignite their investment in the mission. Lise felt the energy shift in the group as ideas flowed. Their collaboration reflected the trust they were building and reinforced her confidence in their unified purpose. As they prepared, a sense of purpose filled the air, but Lise noticed a few lingering doubts among her team members. Jarek, who had remained quiet through the packing, suddenly spoke up. "What if they reject us? What if our efforts are all for nothing?" he questioned, the fear of betrayal creeping into his tone. Lise turned to him, sensing his unease weighed heavily on their team's momentum. "We can't let fear dictate our actions. Every step we take is about building trust," she replied, determination coloring her voice. Behind her, another team member chimed in. "We've already shown we can adapt and overcome. They'll see that." Encouraged by the support, Jarek nodded slowly, his skepticism beginning to wane as he absorbed Lisa's conviction. "I guess it's just hard to shake off what happened before," he admitted, vulnerability slipping into his words. Lise felt the shift in the group dynamics, understanding that acknowledging fears openly could strengthen their resolve as they moved forward together. With a sense of unity slowly forming, Lise gathered her team close once more, preparing them for the journey ahead. "Remember, this is not just about what we stand to gain, but also about building a partnership that can withstand challenges," she reminded everyone, her voice steady and resolute. As they made their way toward the forest dwellers' gathering place, she felt the weight of expectations, hers and those of her companions, but also a burgeoning sense of confidence that had grown through their experiences. "Let's show them our dedication and respect for their ways. This is as much for us as it is for them," she stated with conviction, feeling the collective determination ripple through the group. Kale and the others nodded, the energy among them shifting as they embraced the spirit of cooperation and shared purpose. Lise felt the familiar bond of trust wrapping around them, a testament to how far they had come together in their journey, ready to face whatever awaited them on the path to new alliances. As they approached the gathering place of the forest dwellers, Lise felt her heart pound with a blend of excitement and apprehension. The sounds of nature surrounded them, yet there was an undercurrent of tension that reminded her of the stakes involved. "This moment is pivotal for our future," she said, her voice low but filled with conviction, aiming to ground her team before the meeting. Once they arrived, the densely packed assembly of forest dwellers turned their attention toward them, curiosity and caution mingling in their expressions. Lise took a deep breath, channeling her earlier confidence as she stepped forward, ready to convey their intentions and build bridges rather than barriers. "Thank you for gathering with us today. We're here to celebrate our alliance and discuss how we can move forward together," she began, hoping to resonate with their values and foster a sense of collaboration that could reshape their futures. As Lise spoke, she could feel the forest dwellers' attention sharpen, their curiosity piqued by her earnestness and the inclusion of their collective voices. Some members stepped forward, eager to hear more about the partnership and how it could benefit them in the long run. The elder of the forest dwellers raised an eyebrow, intrigued yet cautious, probing further into Lisa's intentions. "Prove to us that your commitment is genuine. What does this alliance mean for our people?" they asked, clearly assessing the potential risks and benefits. Lise felt the weight of the question and paused, gathering her thoughts before responding. "It means mutual protection, sharing resources, and fostering understanding between our communities," she articulated, her confidence steady. As she spoke, she could see some of the forest dwellers start to nod, their expressions shifting toward cautious optimism, hinting at the possibility of a deeper relationship ahead. Chapter 31, The Legacy of Growth. With the alliance formed and the atmosphere charged with newfound hope, Lise returned to the village, ready to share the news of their success. As she stepped through the familiar paths, the sounds of the village enveloped her, and a sense of belonging wrapped around her like a warm embrace. Yet, she felt different, changed by her experiences and the responsibilities she now carried as a leader. Arriving at her workshop, she quickly set to work, knowing there were preparations to be made to solidify the newly forged bonds with the forest dwellers. Her hands moved efficiently, organizing her materials, each charm and herb an echo of her journey and determination to protect their shared future. As she worked, she caught glimpses of familiar faces, each reflecting a mix of pride and curiosity, their expressions quietly acknowledging the transformation she had undergone. Liz began her day by gathering the villagers to share the news of their successful meeting with the forest dwellers. The village square buzzed with anticipation, and she could feel a blend of excitement and nervousness among the crowd. "Everyone, I have incredible news. We've formed an alliance that will strengthen our community and enhance our defenses," she announced, her voice ringing with enthusiasm. The villagers exchanged glances, and the hushed murmurs grew into an engaged conversation as excitement sparked among them. "What does this mean for us?" a familiar voice called out, breaking through the crowd, curiosity evident in their tone. Liz smiled, sensing the need to clarify their next steps as she prepared to orient them toward a future grounded in cooperation and shared purpose. Lise took a moment to gauge the energy of the crowd, seeing a mix of concern and eagerness in their faces. "By working with the forest dwellers, we can strengthen our defenses against rivals and share knowledge that benefits us all," she explained, her voice steady and passionate. The villagers began to nod, processing the implications of her words, and she could see that some were already considering how they could contribute to this new alliance. However, a few skeptics remained, their brows furrowed. "What if they turn against us? Trusting them could lead to disaster," one villager cautioned, the unease rippling through the group. Lise felt the tension rise again, but instead of retreating, she pressed on. "I understand your fears, but we can't allow mistrust to cloud our potential for a unified future. We must give them a chance," she countered, her resolve shining through. This moment demonstrated her growth as a leader, her ability to face opposition, fostering a deeper connection with her community as they engaged with her vision. Recognizing the need to address the skeptics head-on, Lise invited the villagers to share their thoughts and concerns openly. "Let's talk about our fears and ideas. I want everyone to feel heard," she encouraged, her voice warm and inviting as she created a space for dialogue. Some villagers stepped forward, articulating their apprehensions. They expressed doubts about the trustworthiness of the forest dwellers and what that might mean for their safety. "I've seen too many alliances fall apart," one elder stated, his voice heavy with experience, summoning respect from the crowd. Liz listened intently, appreciating the value in past perspectives while knowing they had to adapt to a new reality. "We can't let previous failures dictate our current choices. History offers lessons, but it doesn't decide our future," she replied, emphasizing the importance of growth and learning from experiences. This open exchange began to weave a collective understanding among the villagers, fostering trust as they navigated uncertainties together. As the discussions continued, Lise noticed a palpable shift in the villagers' attitudes. Their initial skepticism began to morph into curiosity and cautious enthusiasm. "I think we can all agree that unity might be our best chance for survival," a young villager spoke up, their voice gaining strength as they absorbed the conversation. Lise felt a surge of hope at their willingness to engage, reminded of the power of shared experiences in shaping beliefs and relationships. "Exactly. If we approach this alliance with an open mind, we might just find unexpected strengths," she replied, her enthusiasm evident as she rallied their spirits. The villagers nodded, exchanging glances of solidarity as they began to envision the possibilities ahead, feeling the collective weight of their commitment. This moment marked a significant step forward, redefining their purpose and paving the way for a more united future as they prepared to take on new challenges together. With a renewed sense of purpose, Lise called for everyone to gather their thoughts and solidify their commitment to the upcoming alliance. "Let's prepare to approach the forest dwellers again with clear intentions and shared goals," she said, her eyes sparkling with determination. She outlined their plan to build a stronger connection, proposing they offer assistance and skills in exchange for support, a fair and beneficial partnership. Kale stood nearby, enthusiasm radiating from him as he added, "We can show them that we're ready to protect the forest, not just take from it." Liz felt the energy in the group rise, each member embracing the vision she presented as they began to discuss specific tasks for the next meeting. As they organized themselves into smaller teams, she felt a deep sense of satisfaction. They were not just a collection of individuals anymore, but had become a cohesive force ready to face the future together. Chapter 32, The Resolution of Conflicts. With the alliance established and the goals set, Lise felt an unsettling tension lingering in the air, even as they celebrated their progress. Gathered in the village square, members of her team exchanged relieved smiles, but there was also an undercurrent of unresolved emotions that simmered just beneath the surface. Lise took a deep breath, knowing that they couldn't ignore the past or the complexities that had arisen within their group dynamics. "We need to address everything openly," she announced, stepping forward to gather everyone's attention, her voice firm yet inviting. "Let's talk about our experiences and any concerns you might have. We've come far, but openness is key to moving forward together." She scanned the faces of her team, aware that vulnerability could foster deeper connections and healing, allowing them to navigate their futures more effectively. As the team gathered around, Jarek was the first to speak, his voice wavering slightly. "I just want to say that I didn't react well back at the camp," he admitted, looking at Liz. His vulnerability caught the attention of the others, each of them sensing the importance of his words. "I let my fears overshadow my judgment, and I need to own that," he continued, his honesty laying the groundwork for deeper conversation. Liz felt a surge of respect for him. "Thank you for sharing that, Jarek. We all have our moments of doubt, and it's important that we face those fears together," she responded, encouraging others to reflect on their own experiences. The atmosphere shifted as members nodded in agreement, feeling the power of shared vulnerability in their journey. As the group continued to share their thoughts and experiences, Kale stepped forward, his expression serious yet hopeful. "I've been thinking a lot about the choices we've made and how they've shaped our journey," he said, drawing the collective focus of the team. "I know we've faced challenges together, but I recognize there were times I hesitated to speak up or share my ideas," Kale continued, vulnerability echoing in his voice. "I want to contribute more and be part of the solution instead of dwelling on fears," he concluded, determination shining through. Lise felt a surge of pride for Kale, recognizing his growth as he opened up to the group. "That's what we need. Everyone's voice matters in this journey. We each have something valuable to bring to the table," she affirmed, reinforcing the importance of collaboration. The tension in the group eased further, as they realized that their willingness to engage with one another could turn vulnerabilities into strengths, solidifying their future together. Feeling a sense of unity building among them, Lise looked around at her team, knowing that establishing trust was key to their journey ahead. "We've experienced so much together, and each of these moments has taught us valuable lessons," she reflected, her voice steady as she spoke. "Let's take these conversations to heart and ensure we keep supporting one another. Our individual growth fuels our collective strength," she urged, encouraging them to embrace their shared experiences. A younger team member chimed in, expressing appreciation for the open dialogue. "This feels different. I feel like we can really face anything together now," they said, their warmth spreading through the group. Lise smiled, grateful for the bond they were cultivating, recognizing that as each person shared, their connections deepened. This moment distinguished their progress, setting a foundation for future challenges and decisions that lay ahead. As they continued to share their thoughts, Lise felt a sense of accomplishment wash over her, recognizing the importance of their open dialogue in strengthening their bonds. "I believe we're ready to face the next challenges together, but we need to ensure we support each other every step of the way," she affirmed, her confidence bolstering the atmosphere around them. The team nodded in agreement, each member visibly reflecting on how their trust and communication had evolved through their experiences. Jarek added, "It's great to see how far we've come. I feel a lot more certain about what we can achieve if we work together." Liz smiled, appreciating how his perspective had changed since their earlier doubts. This shift in attitude marked a significant milestone, illustrating that their journey had not only shaped their skills, but also forged deeper connections that would guide them in the future. With a sense of unity and purpose, Lise turned to her team one last time, ready to reinforce their commitment to one another and the challenges ahead. "Let's move forward with our plans to engage the forest dwellers and solidify our alliance," she declared, her voice filled with determination. Kale stepped forward, his expression earnest, "And we'll ensure that all our efforts reflect the trust we've built. We won't let our fears overshadow our mission." The team nodded, the collective understanding of their goals cementing their resolve as they prepared to take action. As she observed their reactions, Lise felt a swell of pride, knowing that their experiences had not only enhanced their skills, but had also transformed their dynamic into one of mutual respect and collaboration. "Together, we can achieve great things. Let's approach every possibility with open minds and hearts," she concluded, feeling energized by the bond they had forged through their journey. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in their mission, one fueled by trust, teamwork, and a shared vision for the future. Chapter 33, The Path Forward. With the sun rising on a new day, Lise stood at the edge of the village, watching as the first light illuminated the familiar landscape. The warmth of the morning sun felt like a fresh start, a promise of new possibilities following their recent successes. Today marked the official launch of the Community Council, a venture that had stemmed from her belief in cooperation and unity. As villagers began to gather in the square, excitement buzzed in the air, a palpable energy reflecting the hopes and dreams of everyone present. Lise took a moment to collect her thoughts, feeling the weight of what this initiative meant not just for her, but for the entire community. She recalled the uncertainties they had faced and the journey that had brought them to this point, reinforcing her resolve to lead with purpose and open-heartedness. As villagers began to gather, Lise could see the mix of curiosity and excitement etched on their faces, each one eager to see what the council would bring. She stepped forward, taking a deep breath as she prepared to address the crowd, her heart thumping with a blend of anxiety and anticipation. "Thank you all for coming today. We're here to discuss how we can work together to strengthen our community and support one another," she began, her voice resonating with sincerity. A ripple of conversation spread through the crowd as faces turned toward her, some nodding in agreement, while others exchanged skeptical glances. "We need to build a future that values each person's contribution, where every voice is heard," she continued, drawing from her experiences and the lessons learned along the way. Lise felt a surge of determination as she watched the villagers lean in closer, sensing that she was making progress in winning them over with her passion and focus on collaboration. As Lise continued to speak, she noticed a few familiar faces in the crowd, reflecting the confidence they had placed in her leadership. Her childhood friend, standing near the front, smiled encouragingly, while others leaned in, eager to hear her vision. "Together, we can address the challenges we face and create a stronger bond between our community and the forest dwellers," she emphasized, pointing toward the direction of the forest, remembering their recent alliance. "But we must do it through respect and trust. That's how we build a future," she added, her voice firm as she insisted on the importance of their combined efforts. Her words resonated with the crowd, and she could feel a shift as doubts began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of excitement for the possibilities ahead. Lise recognized that her responsibility now extended beyond just leading. It was about inspiring hope and unity in everyone around her. As Lise wrapped up her speech, she felt the collective energy of the crowd shift, a sense of purpose igniting within them. A few villagers stepped forward, expressing their commitment to the council and sharing ideas for how they could strengthen their community ties. "Let's organize workshops to share knowledge and skills," one villager suggested, enthusiasm lighting up their face. Encouraged by the response, Lise felt the foundations of their alliance solidify even further. each idea discussed, reinforcing their shared goals. She noticed Jarek listening intently, the earlier doubts replaced by a glimmer of hope as he began to see the value in what they were creating together. This new dynamic inspired Liz. She could see that her growth had not only transformed her, but had begun to influence the future of the community they were all building together. With the conversation continuing, the villagers discussed various plans for the council, their excitement palpable as they envisioned a vibrant future together. Liz felt a rush of fulfillment as ideas flowed freely, each contribution reflecting the trust and investment they had in one another. As the meeting progressed, she spotted a few of the forest dwellers observing from the edge of the clearing, intrigued by the enthusiasm building within their newfound allies. Let's not only strengthen our defenses, but also create shared festivals to celebrate our unity, she suggested, wanting to weave their cultures together in celebration. The crowd erupted into enthusiastic chatter, the excitement growing as they contemplated future collaborations with the forest dwellers. Liz realized that their journey had shaped more than just their skills. It had created a community poised to embrace change and work together for a brighter tomorrow. As the meeting drew to a close, Liz smiled at the energy that filled the air, a testament to the potential of their alliance. Let's finalize our plans and set a date for the first council gathering. This is the beginning of something special, she encouraged, her enthusiasm infectious. Awareness of their shared goals simmered in the group, as villagers began to chat amongst themselves, energized by the possibilities that lay ahead. Kale stepped up beside her, beaming with pride. I never thought it would come together like this. It feels good to know we're creating a future for ourselves, he said, his optimism clear. Liz nodded, her heart swelling with hope and gratitude for the unity they had fostered, a bond fortified by their collective journey. This moment illustrated not only her growth as a leader, but also the dawn of new adventures and challenges they would navigate together, shaping the legacy of their community in the process.